most, driving is just a mundane task between point A and point B. Nothing more. It's the frustration of traffic at 8 a.m. The feeling of sickness on a long ride. The car? Just a tool. It's supposed to be practical, reliable, and fast. But the speed is really the reason cars exist, born out of a necessity to make that A to B trip just a little bit faster. Some have a deeper connection with cars, found somewhere in the bond of man and machine, a desire to be part of something bigger than yourself. It's the extension of mind and body to something more exciting than just another appliance. And these people never cared about practicality or reliability. To them, the only thing that matters is speed. We're born with a competitive nature, part of a biological necessity that is not yet worn off with time. People have raced for thousands of years, and that competition has transcended history and found its way to the industrial age. Railroads raced to build across the country, replacing the horses whose strength is still used as a benchmark for power today. And as personal vehicles became popular, the railroads died off. What once was the quickest way across the country became snail's pace in comparison. The interstate highway system expanded and cars populated every driveway. And the competition between types of transport quickly transitioned into the race to have the fastest car. Bragging rights. Manufacturers like Porsche, Ferrari, and BMW emerged in auto racing, each trying to one-up the other. Building engines became an arms race. Who could build the fastest dinosaur-powered lens? So while the passion for cars has died for most, there are still people that are fascinated by racing. The sights, the sounds, the smell of burning rubber and spent race fuel lingering in the air, this is what attracts us to the sport of auto racing. We are empowered by drivers that climb in impossibly fast cars and put everything on the line for the sake of competition. Drivers who know that one slip-up can lead to disaster. And for the longest time, wishing to be a race car driver was just a childhood dream. All we could ever be was a spectator. Opportunities? Limited and expensive. Reserved only for the who's who of the racing world. Until now.
It's the penultimate race of the season for the 2019 SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge, and now we head to a home track for the SimTV community. It is Watkins Glen International, a 14-turn road course in upstate New York. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined tonight by Finian Laguna. Finian, we head back home to Watkins Glen for the last race of the regular season. The next race is where we determine who's going to get the chance to drive a real race car at Circuit of the Americas this next year.
Yeah, indeed, and really are up for also the big point shakeup. So basically, the entire all 10 rounds that we've had beforehand will be essentially considered one gigantic round with 40 points awarded to the champion, 38 for second, and so on and so forth back to 20th. And then in the last round, which is pretty much going to be the most important round of these drivers' season, will award points regularly for them. So pretty much rounds 1 through 10 will be counted as one whole event, and then the final round will also give more points. So it's not a complete runaway for guys like Allison Drini and Hartley. There's still that last race they got to be careful of. We could be for a big upset.
Absolutely. And on the line right now, we have Aaron Lichty, and Aaron Lichty is a driver, a competitor in the Grid Life Touring Cup. He drives a K-Swap Mazda Miata built by Winning Formula. So Aaron, first of all, welcome to the SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge broadcast. It's a pleasure, and thank you so much for your time. But your team, Winning Formula, they build Miatas, and you compete with them in racing series all over the country. So why the Mazda Miata? Why is that car the gold standard when it comes to building race cars?
I think for me, it's that car kind of started as the benchmark for performance or for speed, meaning to say that if you were a young driver trying to prove yourself, I think the first question was, well, how quick are you in a Miata, or specifically a spec Miata? And so I gravitated toward the Miata early on because I felt like that was the best place to compare myself to other competent or seasoned racers. And then I fell in love with the car, and obviously we've modified the cars quite a bit beyond that since then, but that's really where the passion started. Just wanted to compare myself to other talented drivers in a similar chassis.
So you kind of bring up an interesting point, comparing yourself with similar drivers. So, of course, you race in Grid Life Touring Cup, which is not a spec series, but we're here tonight racing, simulating a series that is a spec class. So what are the advantages of running in a spec class where everyone runs the exact same car, and why is that maybe a good place to start learning how to race?
It's definitely more of a driver's championship when it's a spec car. There's a lot that goes behind the scenes within the preparation of those cars to try to find any little mechanical advantage that the prep shop or the mechanics can. But at the end of the day, the cars are going to be pretty darn similar, and so it's really going to feel like a driver's championship where, in some cases in a more open rule set, some tracks are going to benefit some cars more than others. So you may have higher horsepower cars strong at the big tracks, lighter weight cars strong at the short tracks. Where in a spec series, you're always going to be on a pretty level foot. So regardless of the track or the circumstance, it's really going to be a driver's race. And that's the appeal, especially for young drivers.
So the Miata is really known for being a really light and nimble car. So in terms of your race car, how much have you done to it in terms of weight savings, reinforcement? I know you've swapped the motor out. That's a fun one. But what else have you done to the car to get it race ready?
An incredible amount of weight savings, and then we add all that weight back into the car, which might not seem like an advantage, but I'd say if we went through the Grid Life field at Road America this past weekend, we were probably, or I should say I was probably the only car that was right side heavy. And at Road America, that's an advantage because the dominance of the corners are right-handers, especially those leading onto the long straightaways. And so having all that weight over the inside or the disadvantaged tires is a big handling advantage. Think of the carousel leading up to the kink at Road America. Imagine having 300 extra pounds over your right side tires. So we stripped a lot of weight out of the car, and that's just one of the number of advantages that car would have that might not be as apparent to the naked eye when walking around it at the racetrack.
Absolutely. So tonight we're racing at Watkins Glen International, a 14-turn road course up in upstate New York, 3.4 miles long. It's known for having long straights. So what's your approach when you're racing to utilize the slipstream and bump drafting at tracks that are so big? Is bump drafting an accepted norm? And how do you use that slipstream to your advantage in a car like the Miata?
Well, firstly, don't go too wide through the corners onto the straightaways if you can avoid it. So making sure that any battles that you're in, you get them over with before you get to those critical corners leading onto those long straightaways. So that's always a focus, knowing when to kind of back out and optimize your run onto the straightaway. It's also a lot easier in these longer races or even in shorter races with long straightaways to be in second place, the catbird seat, so to speak, to soak up that draft, to kind of conserve your tires, take it a little bit easy and use that to your advantage. So those are definitely two things I focus on these long straightaways.
So I'm going to kind of give you two answers here, and you can't skimp out on this one. Agree or disagree with this statement? Racing is too expensive for the average person.
I agree. I think it depends on where your passion lies, though. At the end of the day, I think for the average person, if you want to be involved in racing, it's going to be your hobby, or it's going to be your life, I guess you'd say. So, but once you fall in love, it's hard not to go that way.
Absolutely. Racing simulators like iRacing are kind of a growing medium for motorsports. Do you think that someday achievements in simulators will have a place on a racing resume, or are we already there, or will that never happen? What's your thoughts on that?
I think we're probably already there. I mean, the intensity of simulator racing, I get pretty similar nerves when I'm on iRacing to what I get in real life. And I think drivers like DJ are showing us that a lot of those skills that are developed on simulators carry over into racing. And look at Formula One teams. They have dedicated simulator drivers. I mean, I think the writing's on the wall. It already has its place.
Absolutely. So I'm curious about your biggest challenges in getting your race cars to where they are today. Because obviously, winning Formula, it's not just one car. You guys have a couple cars that you guys race, or at least work together with. What's been the biggest challenge so far getting those cars winning, for lack of a better term?
Gosh, it's a lot of test time. It's a lot of trial and error. Probably our biggest personal challenge that you kind of keyed in on is that we're preparing more than one car. So if you're preparing one or two cars, yeah, you can focus a lot of energy on them. But if you're preparing 5, 6 cars for a weekend, man, you can't pour all your energy into 4 cars and then have 2 guys have a poor weekend. They're going to be looking at you asking what the heck's up going on there. So probably one of our biggest challenges is just the number of hours in a day versus the number of cars we prepare and the expectations of those individuals who are driving them. But for a racer that's only preparing 1 or 2 cars, individual setups from track to track, making sure the engine's healthy, making sure you got your tires scrubbed in good, that they're ready to go for qualifying. There's a lot of logistics involved in getting a race car together, ready to win a race weekend that maybe you don't have to deal with as much in simulator racing, and there's a big cost savings for you.
Absolutely, and also in the past couple of years, it seems like there's been a resurgence of racing in America. I think the fact that IMSA is on an upswing, IndyCar seems like it's having some of its best years in recent memory. How is the club level racing or the lower level racing in America? How is the health of that from your eyes with your team?
I think probably the 2 most exciting things that we've seen in the last couple of years, one would be the resurgence of endurance racing on an amateur level. Our customer base and myself, we've been very active in that and had a great deal of fun doing that. And then Grid Life offering a single class touring car series is just revolutionary for us. We've kind of fallen into a lot of multi-class racing, and most of those races ended up being decided by how you maneuvered through out-of-class traffic. And there's not a lot of gratification at the end of a race when you pass the out-of-class slower cars better than your competitor. So having just one field on the track with Grid Life has been really exciting and rewarding, led to some awesome battles. And that's really what we're after when we spend all that time and that money preparing cars to show up and race.
I asked you this a couple weeks ago when we interviewed you for the Meet GLTC video, but I'm curious about your favorite racetrack in the North American area, because I know SPEC MX-5 Challenge in the real world goes to tracks like Sonoma, Road America, Watkins Glen. Your favorite track in North America?
Road America, hands down. I know we were just there last week, but I've been saying it all year to the guys around me. That's my favorite track. It's just separate the men from the boys kind of racetrack with the infamous corners like the kink. A lot of long straightaways, which leads into a lot of racing strategy. It's very mentally taxing racetrack. It's not the smoothest track in the world, so suspension really has to be dialed in. I think it's just kind of every challenge, both emotional, physical, mechanical, that you can encounter in racing occurs at that racetrack, and that's why it's my favorite. And then the town of Elkhart Lake is just a cool town. So for anyone listening that hasn't been to Elkhart Lake, go to Road America.
All right, I guess one of my final questions for the night is, why do you race? Is it the thrill, the speed that you like? Is it the intensity of the competition, the engineering and design of the car over for winning Formula, or all of the above? Something else?
I think it's a little bit of all of the above, but most of it for me is I think it's just an incredible mental exercise. So my passion for racing and what attracts me to it is really the mental side of it. It's part meditation. You have to calm the nerves. You have to take all those illusions, those adrenaline rushes, and put them aside. But then at the same time, it's critical thinking. It's a math and physics problem every corner behind the wheel. And so the mental exercise, the mental challenge for me is, I think, why I keep showing up racing. That just never gets old for me.
All right, well, hey, Aaron Lichty, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you jumping in here for a couple minutes to talk about your car and your experience racing in the U.S. We thank you so much, and I guess we'll talk to you later.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Kyle.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, Finian, so that was Aaron Lichty, of course, competitor in the Grid Life Touring Cup, but he brings up a pretty good point about measuring yourself against other drivers. That's what we're doing here tonight. We're measuring everyone here against everybody else on a very, very equal playing field heading into the final race of the season. And remember, there's $4,000 worth of prizes to be had next round, the 23rd of October in Road Atlanta. And there's one guy that has just been taking all the trophies so far, and that's DJ Alessandrini. If you take a look at our point standings again on the right-hand side of the screen, the wins column is that second to last column on the right. And if we skip ahead down to the front page one more time, you can see the DJ Alessandrini's got 5 of those. He's got a lot of victories this season, and Robert Hartley right behind him as well. So these guys coming in neck and neck into the final race, although Alessandrini's got a big points advantage. Next round rather, is where we determine it all. So what's the plan for these other drivers?
Really, the plan is just, don't make any mistakes, because obviously guys like Alessandrini and Hartley, they're going to be assuming, they're going to be going at it, because it's going to be very close in points, because once the reset happens, Alessandrini set to get, I'm pretty sure, actually, I don't even think you can mathematically get to Hartley at this point, will have 40 points. Hartley have 38, and then third, fourth, fifth will get be in 2-point increments after that. So there's only going to be a 2-point deficit between a lot of these guys. Actually, if you can go back to the points, if you can bring that up for me again. Looking at Paul Darling and Christopher Henn, they're tied in the points right now for that third spot. So that could be a very coveted position, because that's 2 extra points going into the next round to tow it up with Hartley and Alessandrini.
And this is an interesting race for Chris Henn, because this is a homecoming for him as well. If you take a look, his hometown is Gorham, New York. New York State, as well as us. We're located in Binghamton, so this is not too far away from us, this racetrack. And right now, Chris Henn has provisional pole as we conclude qualifying here in just a couple minutes. Let's take a look at a little different format here. On the left-hand side of the screen, there is your qualifying order so far, as we about a minute and 40 seconds left until we start the race. So looking at drivers like Hartley, Borden, Saxon, they got some work to do, but look at John D. Allen as well, up in third place. This is a strong qualifying run for a driver that hasn't really had a whole lot of success in this series. He has had a lot in the real world. He's actually run this series in the real world, but that's why he's highlighted in gold as a pro driver. But a great qualifying effort, P3, a 10th off of Chris Henn's 2:10.988.
Yeah, the few starts that he made at the beginning of the season weren't the best runs for Allen due to something or the other happening to him, but his last few appearances have been really good, and he's appeared in the front, competing in potentially for the win. So I wouldn't be surprised, considering the pace he's got tonight, if he can tow it up, maybe get a win and steal a win from one of these guys.
Absolutely, and we want to take a quick moment to thank our sponsors for coming on board and sponsoring this series. We wouldn't be here without them. One of them is LevelUp Racing School, and they have come on board and offer their services for the season and champion. And there's a couple different things to select from with LevelUp Racing School. So if you're more interested about the exact details of that, it's located in the video description or on SPEC MX-5's website. Also, Paradigm Shift, Finney, and this is a really cool one. They came out a little bit later in the season. Paradigm Shift is essentially looking at racing from a more modern approach, looking at it in terms of data and camera and telemetry, and knowing and understanding yourself as a race car driver. Paradigm Shift excels in that, and you should really check out their link in the video description as well if you're curious. They also have some track guides for pretty much every racetrack that you'd want to know about, at least in North America. So check out their website below. WeatherTech, of course, sim racing hardware. We're in a racing simulator tonight, iRacing.com, and we know how important it is to have good equipment underneath you, and WeatherTech offers some pretty spectacular stuff. And of course, Winding Road Magazine and Winding Road Racing for coming on board and providing the format for the championship, and really putting everything on the line for us this year. Taking a chance on a new idea, and that's bringing esports to a more attainable level for some of these guys. These guys, at least most of them in here, have never driven a real race car. Some of them might have not even driven a real car before. And here they are competing, trying to win their opportunity to drive in a SPEC MX-5 Challenge race car. Coming up pretty shortly here. So one more round, and we have a qualifying concluding here shortly, Finian, but I want to talk about Watkins Glen specifically. This racetrack sprawls over 3.4 miles. What are the challenges of Watkins Glen?
Really, the challenges of Watkins Glen, I wouldn't even see is really much of the track itself. I think it's really going to be much of the other drivers here. Due to this being, I guess, one of the, I would say, bigger tracks, just due to how much straightaway and how much on throttle time these guys are going to have. It's a very fast track, a lot of sweeping corners. I really aren't a lot of snow points. When I was driving around, the lowest gear I got into was third, and that was just for a little bit through the corner. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of on-throttle time. That's going to mean the draft is going to come into a huge play. So they got to be really careful and make sure that they stay in the draft if they want to have a chance of the win.
Absolutely. So the qualifying checkered flag has flown. That doesn't mean we're done quite yet, though. Any driver that is currently finishing a lap is allowed to do so. And there is Christian Ost in the number 15. We're going to check in with him a little bit later tonight. We have a really cool onboard through his Twitch channel. And we're going to have that, of course, linked for you shortly. And we're going to have it on here as well. So don't go anywhere if you want to see Christian Ost from behind the scenes, kind of taking a look over his shoulder as he competes in tonight's event. Robert Hartley stole the pole away from Chris Henn at the last moment here, Finney, and a 10th quicker than the 33 of Chris Henn.
Yeah, we'll see if, actually no, so Henn isn't on the track, so he's not going to be able to beat that. Can Alessandrini get ahead of Henn? He's only 10,000ths of a second in behind.
Yeah, Alessandrini's been super impressive this year. We know how talented he is, and he's got a 40-point lead over the rest of the field, so when he walks into Road Atlanta in about 5 weeks' time, you have to pick this guy as the favorite. There's nobody else that's as good as him, at least I don't think. Robert Hartley is one of the most skilled drivers in the iRacing platform, and Alessandrini has kind of taken him to school in some events this year. Whoa, car off the racetrack down in turn number 1. I think that was that Paul Darling? Or is it
That was
Darling?
Darling. That was Darling.
In the 55.
Yeah, he went hard into the wall. You don't want to be doing that. That's another big thing too, actually, speaking of which. You want to be careful of turn 1 because a lot of guys will mess with that corner. You can go very wide in that corner too. And that's where we see guys, making mistakes and colliding with each other off the corner.
So who are we? We are SimTV, and my name is Kyle Heyer, and this is Finney and DeCuno alongside me. And we're a sim racing broadcast team from the Binghamton, New York area, and it's been a pleasure to work with SPEC MX-5 throughout the year. This is our penultimate round, our second to last race of the season. So we're almost done doing this for 2019. Hopefully we'll be back in 2020. We've had some incredible opportunities from streaming iRacing League stuff to going out and doing stuff for Grid Life, as well as a deal with Speed 51 that we just struck up a couple weeks ago. So very excited about that in the coming weeks. But SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge action tonight. Let's take a look at our format for the evening here, Finian. Race 1 about to start. 20-minute sprint race. You got a 15x limit, and if you exceed that limit, 2 championship point deduction. And remember, that race for third of the points you mentioned, getting real tight, so that's going to be extremely important. And then our second race, about 9:30, that's a 30-minute race, a little bit longer, and your strategy might change just a touch for that one.
Getting everyone gridded and lined up here for a full pace lap. It's going to take them quite a while to get around here at pace speed.
Yeah, it's a 3.4-mile circuit, and it's a long way around. It's a beautiful morning here in Watkins Glen. And we take a look at the far left-hand side of the screen. You see the inner loop there, Finney, and this is a controversial, perhaps, corner for a lot of people. Some people dislike this. This was added as a safety measure after the 1992 season, I believe. Is it 1991 or 1992?
One of the early 90s.
Yeah, but essentially this back straightaway used to go straight on through.
Yeah.
And it no longer does that. You see, that's where the cones are. That's where the track used to go. Now it diverges to the right, and then 2 lefts, and then another right. And this got some big curbs on the apexes, and you're going to have to send your car through here at high speed and jump those curbs just right to make time.
Yeah, well, I mean, for the people that, don't like it, I mean, every track has had to get some sort of safety measure implied, which really has meant a lot of chicanes put at the end of long straightaways. Mulsanne is a great example of that. You got 2 chicanes because it's so long. But yeah, definitely, this is probably one of the better implementations of a chicane at the end of a straightaway. It's very flowing in this section, and it sets up for quite a few passes, and especially into the carousel.
Yeah, so taking a look, this is some of the curbing on corner entry, and I think this is the challenge, is a lot of the open wheel cars that race here at Watkins Glen, they can't use this curbing. They have to stay off of it. It's tall, it's gnarly, but these cars tonight, they're going to be using every bit and some more. I guarantee we'll see some dirt tire tracks to the inside of these curbs here, but again, that incident limit, you got to keep your eye out for that. So there's Christian Ost starting towards the rear of the field. Again, we're going to check in with him a little bit later tonight. But up at the front of the field, I think our typical players are still there. And it's a field 17 strong for tonight's first race of the night, as the field gets ready to go for their one pace lap, around this, I guess, iRacing has it listed as 14 turns. I disagree. It's 11 turns for me. And turn 1, however, that corner doesn't ever change. As the field heads on down, it's called the 90 for a reason, Finney, and from up above, it's a 90-degree angle corner, and we're going to see a lot of trouble down here. It's one of the primary passing zones at this racetrack, so it means you're going to have to outbrake your opponents and get underneath them before you get to the corner. The field rolling down through turn number 1 and getting set up to climb the hill up the S. Is going to ride on board with DJ Alessandrini as we climb the hill here. Turns 2, 3, and 4, right, left, right. 110 feet of elevation change as you climb this hill, and I don't think anything can quite prepare you for what this is like in real life.
Yeah, it is extremely steep in real life. The sim does not do it justice, as it doesn't do most elevation changes in the sim. It's really one of those things where once you see it in real life, you really realize how much elevation these cars go through and how dramatic it is as well.
So on to the long back straightaway. It's over 1,000 feet long, and these cars will get just over 120 miles an hour in the draft before jumping in the binders for that inner loop we just talked about. So braking zones here in these cars are really short because they got some nice fancy brakes on them, Finian, and they don't weigh a whole lot. So you're going to be braking probably at the 200, maybe even the 100 marker before throwing the car into the corner and over the top of these curves. DJ's working his way through the inner loop now, and then we're going to head to the outer loop, or the carousel, as they call it. This is effectively turn number 5, and a long sweeping downhill right-hander. And this is really just setting yourself up, because this next corner, turn 6, can be a passing opportunity, especially on the last lap when you're getting desperate. Yeah,
that's the thing. That's a perfect thing, too, because a lot of guys try to make a pass on the inside of the carousel, usually if we're going on just the normal NASCAR configuration of it, but now you gotta be set up pretty much on the left going into here, and we see a lot of passes made entering the boot.
Yeah, absolutely, and looking from high above on the far right side of the screen, you can see the cars going through. That is the boot section. Why is it called that? Because it looks like a boot. And so now they're heading into the laces of the boot and then down into the toe. This is one of the slowest corners on the racetrack. Steeply uphill, very sharp, probably third gear in these cars. And then you're going to head up the hill towards the heel of the boot. Another good passing opportunity. Very sharp corner, not necessarily any slower than the toe. This is we turn number 8, if we're going by the numeric number. Another long straightaway with a lot of potential to draft. You can see the cars heading down in there now. Look how tight that is. And then right after that is turn number 9. That is a left-hander. It's very off-camber because you see the shortcut at the top of the boot. That is where NASCAR runs through. That's the NASCAR configuration. So to rejoin, the track has to flatten back out. And what that means is that this corner is really awkward to take at speed.
This corner is a pain, really, to put in lack of a better words. It's a very hard corner to get through because it's so flat. Especially compared to most of the track where the corners are banked. So that could be a difficult section. We could see a couple guys have some accidents through there.
Through turn number 10, this will almost be full throttle in these race cars as they get themselves up to speed coming out of turn 9. And then turn number 11 is a right-hander back onto the main straight. Big curb on the inside, you got to miss, but you also have to get right down to the apex to make it quickly through there. So it's going to be a 20-minute race for the penultimate round of the 2019 SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. Robert Hartley on pole alongside the 33 of Chris Henn. A homecoming for us, a homecoming for Henn. And waiting for the green flag to drop, it's Watkins Glen. It's round number 10. 1 round left in this season. After this, green flag in the air, racing at Watkins Glen.
Everyone getting up to speed. Slowly they go down the long front straightaway, and you can see some guys bobbing, weaving, setting up for turn number 1.
Down into turn 1. Look at DJ Alessandrini setting himself up in the middle of the pack. That's Paul Darling in the 55. 3 wide through the middle. That's Christian Oss in the 15. They're going to have to funnel themselves down on corner X. It's still 3 wide as they make their way to turn 2.
I was going to say, someone's got to give. At some point, there's still 3 wide entering the S's. You see the 21 getting pushed to the apex of the turn. It looks like Oss is going to win the fight and squeeze his way on through.
We finally get it sorted out as they climb the top of the hill. Some action up towards the front, though. 3 wide for the lead. Whoa. Chris Henn gets a push from John Diallo on that pink car. Still 3 wide.
Whoa!
Car off the racetrack. It's the 41 of Nathan Saxton, side by side heading towards the bus stop.
Yeah, Bourne went for a move and that pushed Saxton off the track. There's still 2 and even 3 wide a little bit as they go through the bus stop, and this is where the chaos is going to ensue.
Still 2 and 3 wide through the middle of that front pack, but we've got it sorted out now. Alessandrini shuffled back to 4th. Chris Henn to 2nd. Allen to 3rd. Hartley hangs on to the lead after all that. Michael Borden in the 42 up to 6th place. In that number 42 machine. That's that magenta colored car right there. Right in the bumper of Saxon had to jump on the binders. A little deep. Car off the racetrack. No, the 91 gets turned. Alessandrini spins and gets clobbered. Spins right across the racetrack into Paul Darling, I think.
Yeah, yes. It was Paul Darling.
And Alessandrini, big damage on that car on the opening lap.
That's unfortunate for him. It's going to give Hartley a much better time as he's up in the lead for this race.
The points leader wrecked out early here at Watkins Glen. That car is destroyed. Up towards the front, though, Hartley leads the way. Chris Henn and John D. Allen side by side heading towards turn 8, and it's an absolute hornet's nest behind him. That's Bresci on the outside and Christian Oss on the inside.
And they come deep on the brakes into the turn they go. Christian Oss moving up quite a few spots already up into 6th, trying to get 5th away from Bresci.
That gray car on the inside is a 51 of Steve Fakashi. Duking and diving. So Hartley leads the way. Chris Henn rides in second. For now, John D. Allen in third. Everyone getting cycled out here, trying to find their place in line. Right now, it's a 4-car breakaway. Bresci leads the fight from fifth on back. Some cars off the racetrack. It's the 23 of Jack Sanchez. 1 lap in the books and already some drama. Here comes Jack Sanchez on the inside and Mitchell Peak on the outside. He moves himself up into 9th place in that number 21.
If he gets his way on through, it's going to be Samuel Scott, then Jack Sanchez in behind them. But some pretty big drama at the beginning.
I think we saw a spin there. Nope. Wow, car way off the racetrack. That's was that the 21 or was that the 23? So it was car behind. It was Brian Shabelski in the 12. He went way off the racetrack down in turn number 1. Here's actually no, it was the 23 of Sanchez. It's either him or Elijah Kloft in the 17.
Elijah, because he's on the outside.
Oh yeah, it was Elijah in the 17. Look how wide he runs on the exit of turn 1. Paved runoff there to be able to use. And so he'll head back up. So we're going to head now to the onboard with Christian Ost as the battle for the lead has died down just for a moment. And for the lead right now, we're going to watch Chris Henn as we're just waiting for Christian Ost to prepare for us here. Meanwhile, in the background, that is the 15 leading this way. Here comes the 24 to the inside. This is for 5th. Off into the braking zone. Looks like Bresci's going to take it back. Fakachi pushing the issue on the inside now.
Whoa, and you see him run just a little bit wide. And here comes Ost now looking all sorts of ways, trying to get around this 24.
Some action in the middle of the field as the front runners start to drive away. Chris Henn leads the way by 0.3 of a second. And this is Christian Ost on board right now as he is in the middle of this battle on the back straight, heading towards turn 8. He's got the 24 Bresci in front of him, the 51 of Steve Fakachi behind him.
And they come deep on the brakes into the turn they go. He's got a lot of cars in behind him. He's got Fakachi, Saxon, Peak, Scott, and a whole lot more. So the top 5, pretty much 5th on back is broken behind the field, and the top 4 are broken away.
So Ost right now riding in 6th place, right behind Thomas Bresci, using the draft, and they're going to turn in a moment back onto the full course here and head back towards the front straightaway. 2 laps complete, heading towards lap number 3 as Ost continues his fight. And
get 'em, boys.
Working their way back onto the front straight. You see up the road, just out of the view of Christian Ost, is the leaders. That's Chris Henn breaking away, trying to break away from Robert Hartley. So here we go again. John D. Allen right now sitting in 3rd place. And he's got Michael Borden barking up his gearbox as they climb the hill. And Borden, we talked about his performance a couple of weeks ago. So good in this 42. He's really picked up his game.
Yeah, really has. And here he comes trying to look for a way around John D. Allen in 3rd. And I was talking about Allen having a shot at the win. He's about 0.4 of a second in behind Hartley. You can see Borden giving a bit of a shove as the leaders make their way on through.
4-car breakaway at the front of the field, and right behind them, that is the 24 and 15 line astern right now. Everyone beginning to get strung out here a little bit. The draft is going to bring them all back together, though, Finney. And I think for right now, those front 4 are safe. But if they start to battle, it's not going to be too long for these other cars to get back in the fight.
I'm just speaking of getting back in the fight. I'm just kind of curious what's happened to Allison Durini. He's back 36 seconds from Paul Darling.
Yeah,
so Allison Durini, I think the race is pretty much gone for him.
Yeah, he's actually going to pull over and stop there. I think it's going to be a DNF for the 91. Up front, though, no DNF for Chris Henn. Remember, back at Laguna Seca, about halfway through the season, he blew a motor on a downshift and threw away potentially one of his other victories. He's won a couple times this season, but he's really starting to pick up his performance and a legitimate threat for next round at Road Atlanta.
I was going to say, so this should actually pretty much give him 3rd, as with Paul Darling. That incident put Darling back in 15th. Remember, they're tied in the points, so they're fighting for 3rd come next week. So this is a big jump for Chris Henn. Even if he finishes in 4th, this is a huge gain for him.
Turning back onto the short course where NASCAR runs, and this front 4 still tight in line. And back for 5th, it's a 3-car breakaway here. Bresci, Ost, Fakachi. Then behind them, it's Sam Scott, Mitchell Peak, Shabelski rounding out your top 10. Then a couple seconds back to Jack Sanchez in the 23. 13.5 minutes left up front, though. This is just a waiting game here, Finian. I don't think Hartley has any desire to lead this race until the last corner.
And that has pretty much been almost every single round of this championship has been turning into a waiting game for the leaders. You know, when do you make that move? When's the time to do it? I think really at this track you can wait for the last lap. You have so many opportunities present to you so many different strategies. You see Hen go a little bit wide, Hartley turning back violently onto the track, trying to get a lane on the 33, but can't get it done before the S's.
You have to carry momentum, and Chris Hen going to move out of the way. Maybe some shenanigans being played here, Finney, and I think Hen knows he doesn't want to be in the lead. Maybe giving Hartley the advantage now to slot in behind him and put himself in the best spot to win the race.
Yeah, well, someone's got a lead, and it looks like it's going to be Hartley that's going to nudge out ahead of the 33. We'll see where Allen goes. Or sorry, that's actually Borden. Allen's a 0-2. He's lining up behind Chris Hen.
Yeah, both pink cars up towards the front of the field, heading into the inner loop once again. Whoops. Down into here. Ooh, car in the grass. That was a 33 of Hen. He slots into third behind him. You see, that's Bresci. Wow, he's way fast through there. And Christian Ost overcooked it a little bit. Facacci and him getting dicey between the two.
Yeah, they almost made contact. Facacci almost looped around Christian Ost, but Ost is going to keep it going in sixth, although we've lost quite a bit of time to Bresci and are out of his draft, so it looks like this battle's gone to themselves, and actually here comes Facacci now to the inside.
Down into turn number 6. We talked about how great of a braking zone this is and how easy it is for someone to make a move down here. So Facacci makes the pass. He takes away 6th, and Bresci tries to drive up the road, and he's running pretty competitive time, so if these front couple start to fight, maybe Bresci could catch back up to that lead battle. Ost back to the inside, and Facacci out of turn 7. And then maybe a drag race down the back straight between these two. And it looks like, for now, Ost is going to back off. Very humid out here today, Finian.
Yeah, very humid. If you can go back to the camera, you can really see it really doesn't look like they're going that fast around here.
They're pulling 80 to 100 miles an hour, but it's just such a big racetrack for these cars. Through turn number 9, back towards turn 10. Again, let's ride on board with Borden here as we go through turn 10. Pretty much full throttle. Flew a little bit of a lift there on corner exit, trying to chase down Robert Hartley. Again, Hartley is nearly tied with DJ Alessandrini for most wins this season, but has had a lot more bad luck than Alessandrini has had. Of course, that changed already as Alessandrini down in the points. He can't lose the lead. He's pretty much clinched the lead heading into Road Atlanta next round, but certainly for DJ, not an opportunity to win this race. Look at Hartley run out wide now on exit of turn 1. Climbing the hill in the S's. This is, again, a 110-foot climb up the hill. 4-car breakaway, but Bresci, last time by, a 212.1, was quicker than the leaders. So that 24 car is going to get himself back in this fight. And how much does it help? I know Bresci isn't necessarily from a road racing background. He drives stock cars a lot of the time in iRacing. But where do stock cars drive? Watkins Glen. Maybe that experience is helping him out here a little bit.
Yeah, I see him and Ost have a good run. They've ran into some bad luck here and there throughout this season, so they're running pretty strongly considering where they usually have run. So nice runs for them in 5th and 7th respectively.
You see on the gap on the track map there, the 0-3 is Hartley, the 24 is Thomas Bresci.
And actually Hartley is, Bresci's actually catching Allen by about 0.8 a second.
He's catching everybody. Everybody except Borden. Borden ran a touch quicker, but he was following right behind Hartley and had the draft. So this 24 car could conceivably get back in the fight. 9 minutes and 50 seconds to go. Quite a ways left in this race.
Yeah, but really, for him to get back, he has to make sure he doesn't make a single mistake, because otherwise he's going to run out of time, and that's really going to be key for him.
Battle here between Christian Ost, Sam Scott, and Mitchell Peak. This is a battle for 7th place. Ost has it. Scott and Peak won it. And again, these cars don't have a ton of torque, so pulling out of turn 7 is pretty tricky. But they're going to use that draft at the high end. You see that's Peak popping out of line here. It looks like we've got DJ Alessandrini who's joined us in the booth here. Hey, DJ, I know you're wrecked out, but...
Hey, I walked over to the booth. I had nothing else to do.
Well, hey, it's good to see you. Obviously, a very unfortunate start to the race for you tonight. But what happened down there in turn number 6?
We just met at the apex. I didn't hear car left or even see him until I already committed in, and then, I thought I left enough room, and the car just went spinning. So, sometimes that happens. Not too beat up about it. I'm actually kind of surprised he got a penalty for that, because there's been similar incidents like that where he doesn't get where the driver doesn't get the penalty. But I think it's because we weren't side by side until we met and collided. So no hard feelings. It's just that happens. I drove my broken car around 2 laps to make sure I get the couple points I needed to cinch up the preseason championship.
Yeah, so talking about that, I know we still got the race going on, 5 laps to go here, but looks like you're in a pretty good position. So race number 2, what's the plan? I mean, is it just go for broke, or are you going to kind of just sit back and see what happens?
I'm just going to have some fun.
All right, well, that sounds like a plan. Meanwhile, we're watching this battle for the lead. Robert Hartley has been probably your biggest competitor so far this season. He leads the way. Michael Borden, though, how about this guy? Started to really improve his performances and now running for the victory here at Watkins Glen. What are the chances he goes to victory lane today?
Yeah, Michael's picked it up ever since Road America. I think something lit a fire under him. He's been super quick and he's really aggressive, so he's tough to race against. Just because it seems like he doesn't care if the car gets wrecked. So it's very, very tough to race against him.
And as for Chris Henn, who's running third right now, he does have a couple victories to his name in the 2019 season. Is he a threat, perhaps, for Road Atlanta? I know you and Robert are probably the ones to beat, but Chris Henn has won a couple races. Maybe he could steal away those prizes from you. So what's the plan to beat him going into Road Atlanta?
Yeah, if you guys remember, Chris was super fast at Road Atlanta. He just ran into some problems. So Chris definitely has a chance to win it. Same with Hartley. Same with Paul. Paul was fast at Road Atlanta too. So it's I think it's a battle between top 4, maybe top 5. I'm not sure exactly who's sitting in 5th. Saxon, I think.
Saxon is currently scored in 13th place. In terms of the points, though, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Points place. Let's see. Saxon is scored 5th in the points.
Looks like Hartley's pulling away with this one right now.
Yeah.
And those two behind him aren't even fighting, so Hartley's showing really good pace.
Yeah, so actually he's starting to snake on the front straightaway here as Borden and Henn duke it out between them. So are they focusing too much on each other and losing sight of Hartley here? Because we know how good Robert Hartley is in Miatas. So what's the danger that he just drives away and without any chance for them to get back?
Oh, Alan with the pass on the outside of Henn. That was amazing.
I'm actually curious if Race Control will look at that, Fadian, because that was technically off course. I'd be curious to see what their opinion is on that. We haven't really had
nothing said about it in the pre-race meeting, so
I guess
fair game in my book.
I guess that's all fair game. We haven't really had a situation really arise this season where we've had runoff being used as a passing zone. So I guess
because usually most of the runoff means you're going into a wall.
Yeah.
So.
Whoa, side by side into the bus stop here. Allen and Borden adoring each other, and now Allen gets his way through to second. Borden slips to third. Henn now tries to get back to the inside of the 42.
They're losing the plot here. I think what's happened is that no one wants to be first, but everyone wants to be second to set up that pass. But now it's pretty much going to be all for naught as Hartley's over a second ahead of him.
And he's beginning to break away here. So for race number 2, DJ, Robert's going to have an advantage, looks like, because he's got this place figured out. So, when you're racing in a place like Watkins Glen, is your thought process just to put yourself in position to help each other until the last lap, or are you just thinking about yourself and maybe just drafting if the opportunity is there?
It's very tough. It's a high-speed chess match. You want to work with the guy in front of you, but at the same time, if you're getting attacked from behind, you kind of have to attack in front of you. Basically to defend yourself from behind. So if you're not under attack, it's really easy to work with the guy in front of you. If you are under attack, that's kind of when the sweater unravels and chaos breaks out.
So we'll be coming around about 3 laps to go here, Finney, and Hartley's got a 1-second lead. We got John D. Allen in second. We know he knows how to wheel these cars, Finney. He drives these things in real life. He knows his way around a Miata. He knows his way around Watkins Glen. As a bit of a slip there on the curb. So Allen and Chris Henn now. Allen bounced off the wall in turn 11 there, and that's going to let Henn get back to the inside.
Might have pushed a little bit too hard there. That's not an insignificant hit. You can see there's some left, when he comes by the picture now, you see some damage on the left side. In fact, here comes Borden now with a pass on Allen. You can see the left front a little bit dented up.
Yeah, actually very dented up, so some pretty significant damage to the 0-2 of John D. Allen as they climb the hill again. And here comes Borden to the inside. They're going to fight side by side, and now Chris Henn starts to pull away. So maybe we'll see Henn and Hartley get to duke it out without a draft pack following them. They might just be one-on-one. Where's Thomas Bresci in all this? He has slipped down the order a little bit, or not down the order, but down the time standings a little bit, and now duking it out with Steve Ficacci in the 51.
Yeah, hasn't really been able to catch back up to Borden and company as he was earlier, so he's fallen a little bit off the pace, but still running well, though he's battling now with Ficacci.
In the background.
Sideways.
Hard into the fence on the back straightaway. Car upside down. It's Mitchell Peak. No, it's not. It's the 23 of Sanchez. Barrel rolling on the back straightaway and collision, and both those cars destroyed.
What on earth happened there? O's just came into the picture sideways at the end of the S's.
Oh
and
my goodness!
Ended up collecting Sanchez violently.
That was a horrible crash, and I think he just ran wide here on the exit of the S's.
It almost looked like he was loose before. Might have just caught on the exit there. Yeah. Whoa.
No, something bad happened there. He I don't know. Ooh. That could have been a hardware issue. Could have been pretty much anything.
Yeah, let's right on board with him. I'm kind of curious.
It's right on the board of the roll bar here. And just going straight. And then at the last second, steers back to the right. And just a crash there. Maybe got distracted. The 23 of Jack Sanchez up in the air on top of the 98 of Sam Scott. Wow.
I wonder if Christian was looking to his right at the car next to him instead of straight, because
Yeah,
he just
it
kind
looked
of
like one of those things where
off the track.
It looked like one of those things where he just lost focus or just wasn't aware of where he was going for a second and drifted into the wall or towards the wall.
Things happen so fast. Unfortunately for Jack Sanchez, that means that's the end of his race. The 98 of Sam Scott, he's continuing, but there's some damage to the roof of that car. Or I guess there's really no roof, but to the top roll bars. He had a car land on top of him, so pretty wild wreck there.
That's the strongest part of the car.
It sure is, but 2 laps to go up front. Hartley, Henn, Allen, Borden. The gaps have shrunk back down here, Finian. So what's Henn's opportunity? How long does he wait? Do you wait to the last lap?
I don't think by the time he's going to get to him, he's going to get at the last lap. So I think he should just use the massive run that he's going to get. Maybe actually time the gap a little bit. Try to find a good place in line. Don't be directly in behind Hartley, but leave a little bit of a gap so when you get on this straightaway on the white flag lap, you can get a huge slipstream down and make a pass on Hartley.
And look at the 0-3 trying to break the draft now here, DJ. So how helpless do you feel as the leader getting reeled back in like this with 2 laps to go?
It's not a good feeling, that's for sure. But when you're in that situation, you just hit your marks and you have to make those guys behind you work for it.
Working their way through the carousel now and down into the boot section. And it's going to be pretty close to the end of the race here, Finn. About 1 minute and 14 seconds left. Remember, when we cross the start-finish line with about less than 2 minutes and 12 seconds to go, that is going to be our white flag. And Chris Henn has really reeled in Hartley, and I don't think they're going to be waiting around too much longer. They're going to start fighting as soon as this 33 gets here, and that's going to bring Allen and Borden right back in, but big understeer by the 33 on the exit of turn 7.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's really just air wash or something, but yeah, I think just might have just charged into the corner too much. Now he's trying to sneak down the straightaway with Hartley trying to get a toe off of him.
Yeah, not a whole lot of air wash in these cars, so my guess is maybe just got on the throttle a little early, trying to get an advantage on the 0-3, and you see him understeering again. He's got a lot of steering angle cranked in it. They both run a little wide over the edge of the curb, and coming back to the white flag, it's still going to be close. 30 seconds left in the race here, Finney, and this could go checkered.
Yeah, this is going to be very close in the timing. Now at 20 seconds they come slowly to the line. Will it be enough to start the next lap?
17 seconds, make it 15 seconds now into the final corner. Chris Henn right behind Robert Hartley. Here they come, last corner, 9 seconds. It's going to just be a couple seconds too long, I think. No, this might be checkered right here, Finney. It's going to be close. No, nope. White flag, one more time around.
At 2 seconds they come across the line. That is extremely close. So Hartley will continue on, and now he's got Chris Henn behind him. We'll see if Henn can do anything. Hartley, though, goes very
wide on the exit of turn 1, and he slips and slides across the racetrack. Thomas Bressi in the background, he's fighting with Steve Ficacci. Ficacci way off the track, almost all the way to the edge of the runoff room, slides back through the grass, but up front, here comes Chris Henn to the outside.
Yeah, he's built a huge run. Hartley killed any momentum he had going into that corner and has left himself open. Here comes Chris Henn. There you see also John D. Allen trying to get a draft off of Henn, maybe make a pass on Henn as well while he's at it.
This could be a 3-car fight, maybe even 4. Ooh, a wiggle by the 33 into the bus stop. John D. Allen into second place in the catbird seat if something happens. And look at Hartley, he slipped from first to third. Does he have a problem? He's slowing.
I don't think he's got a problem. I think he's just trying to get back in behind these guys, maybe try to plan some move to get himself back up into those top 2 spots, but currently it's Henn, Allen, Hartley, and Borden, your top 4.
Nose to tail down into turn number 6 now. Allen sitting right behind. Ficacci's crashed in the bus stop. So Ficacci's around, and I imagine that has something to do with he and the 24. But meanwhile, for the lead, here comes John D. Allen on the outside lane, down into the toe of the boot. Along the outside lane, that's going to be a hard line to hold. We'll have to tuck in behind again. Here comes Hartley.
Oh, and here comes Allen though. He went wide in that corner to set up a run down this straightaway. He's got a much bigger run than Henn. There you see him snaking, trying to find a way past. They're going to be side by side through the final few corners.
You get one defensive move. Henn took it down into turn number 8. And it looks like the 0-2 braked. He had to dive back to the inside.
Oh, Hen's going to go off just a little bit. No, he's going to barely keep it on the track. And now here comes Hartley back on it. He's trying to make a move.
Hartley to the inside for second place behind him. Chris Hen trying to drive away. 0-3, 0-2, fight for second. 2 corners left at Watkins Glen.
It's going to be close between them. I think Allen's going to try to set it up down the straightaway to the line. There's a little bit of a run there that can be had.
Right on his bumper. Last corner, riding on board with John D. Allen. Here they come. Checkered flag in the air this time through. They got about 800 feet left. Final corner over the curbs. Chris Hen has led not as many laps as the 0-3 of Hartley, but he's going to get to the line. Who is it going to be? Across the line? Did Hartley? Chris Hen got it by a tenth of a second. It was so close, the timing and scoring was confused for a second. Meanwhile, behind, looks like Bressy's going to come home for 5th. But up at the front, a 3-car battle. 3 cars within 0.2 of a second, Finian. How about that?
Yeah, that was an incredible run to the line there between them.
And some other close battles. I want to go back and take a quick look at this replay here because I didn't really get the great camera angle for it. But last lap, last corner. And here they come to the line. Chris Hen went super defensive, and Hartley in behind John D. Allen across the line. Wow.
And I was kind of worried that he, what the move Hen did there, he moved so violently that kind of scrubbed off some of the momentum he had. I thought he might have been just enough for Allen to get past, but he really killed that run, that any run that Allen would have had off of him, and was able to keep it by a tenth.
What a finish there for those guys. 4 cars really only in the fight, though, Finney, and a lot of the field dropped out due to crash damage. So let's take a look at our race results here as we take a look. Of course, John D. Allen second. Bressi with a top 5, a good result for him. Saxon down in 9th. Ficacci in 10th. We have to go back and look at Ficacci's incident. Of course, Paul Darling, Ost, Sanchez, Alessandri, and others involved in race collision. So, DJ, how about that result? That's pretty crazy out there.
Yeah, it was. I'm surprised Chris was able to get past Hartley down the back straight. I would think that you'd have to give himself a little bit more room out of the run of 1, but it was apparently enough. And then Hartley just got swapped by John, fighting for that second place spot. And Chris just hit all his marks in the last lap, made it tough for those guys to go after him. So naturally, they'll start fighting each other.
So
thinking I'm in 3rd, I could get him if I was in 2nd, and then that's when it all breaks loose.
So did you learn anything that you could perhaps apply to race number 2?
No, I think I have a good game plan. I just have to make it through the first lap.
All right, DJ. Well, we're gonna let you go. We'll talk to you a little bit after race number 2, but we're gonna go back, Finney, and take a look at the issue between the 24 and the 51. See you, DJ. Thanks for coming. And the 24 and the 51. This is their battle on the back straight on the last lap.
I have to imagine that something happened between them, and something happened in the favor of the 24. See them both side by side here. Bressi trying to get a little bit of a side draft off of him.
And down into the bus stop. Oh, that's going to be a tough one to officiate. That might have just been ruled a racing incident, but an impact into the wall for the 51. Let's go back and look from a different angle from up above. That's a racing incident for me. I don't think you could put that on any one driver. I think clearly the 51 didn't have a whole lot of room on corner entry, but the normal line is to drive over the curb on the right. So I don't think... I think this is a viable amount of space left that Bressi left. I think this is fine. I think the 51 just got loose on the curb, and he didn't even really hit the 24.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to look for. It didn't look like there was contact. I think Ficacci just turned in too violently, and that got the car upset in the rear and then sent him around.
Here's his view. It might have been a slight touch.
Yeah,
there.
But it wasn't significant content. I mean, if anything, it was a touch. But yeah, no, that's pretty much just a racing incident there.
Yeah, I think I agree with that assessment. And the 51 slipping and sliding, and off the course he goes. And collision into the fence. All right, well, so race 1 complete. Do we learn anything in terms of the racecraft? I think it was pretty standard Watkins Glen for me, Finney, and that last lap draft battle always seems to make things pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think definitely the key, though, is going to be making turn 1, because a lot of guys on that last lap missed turn 1, and that left them open to getting passed from behind with guys getting a draft. So I think that's really probably what we're going to see guys taking. I would imagine we're probably going to see guys taking it a little bit more conservatively into turn 1, but we have to see.
All right, I think I'm going to take a quick gander here. I would like to maybe talk with Chris Henn real quick if we could. So I think we're going to bring him in. Hey, Chris Henn, it's Kyle from SimTV. Got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, Chris. Well, hey, congratulations on a victory. Well earned there. Just walk us through that last lap because it was pretty wild stuff. I'd like to get your opinion on it.
Yeah, I was just thinking back to Sebring, and I was like trying not to blow it like I did it down in Florida. And John was all over me, and him and Rob putting pressure on you. It's almost too much to handle. So, but I was trying to hang in there as much as I could. I really hustled hard to catch Rob, so I didn't want to blow it at that point.
What's your plan for race number 2? Is it pretty much just do the exact same thing, or is there some execution you'd like to do a little bit differently?
Well, I saw that Paul and Nathan both had problems, and I'm really close with them in the points, so that's probably gonna, ease the pressure a little bit for me.
All right, Chris. Well, hey, congratulations on picking up a victory at a little bit of a homecoming for you here in Watkins Glen. So congrats on that, and good luck in race number 2.
Yeah, thanks, man. Keeping it real from New York.
All right.
Thank you.
I think we're going to jump to break for a couple minutes. We're going to hear a couple words from our sponsors. But thanks for your time. We're going to be back. We're not done yet. Here, let's look at your format again tonight. Race number 2 at 9:35 in just a couple minutes here. An incident limit of 17. And it's a 30-minute race this time around, Finian, so a little bit longer. How does that change the strategy for race 2?
I guess a lot more patience is required with those extra 10 minutes. So, I mean, that's 50% more race distance. So, I think a lot of these guys are going to be a little bit more patient. They've got a lot more time to worry, about, and a lot more time to kind of, just ride in behind each other. But we did see it get a little bit chaotic towards the end there. So, who knows? There might be some guys trying to make a move early.
All right, we'll be right back. Here's a word from our sponsors. Thanks for hanging tight.
just a word of warning for Friday. Kyle is incredibly fast in those cars. He's a good driver overall, but he, like, in the test race, he just spanked us all.
Kyle.
Higher.
Oh.
Since they're not streaming, I think he's running it.
Oh, I thought they were streaming it.
All right, Sam.
I don't think they're streaming it this season.
I'll see you later.
Oh, okay.
I know.
I'm not 100% certain
I'm sure
on
someone
that, but I thought
clipped
I
that.
remember him saying they weren't
I'm gonna have to go
posting on
back and
BM
check
TV.
after the race is over and see if someone's actually clipped it or not. Cause
Yeah, if they're running, he's.
I really should have hit a
he's
sound
pretty
clip
fast.
there.
Yeah, he's fast in GT3 cars too.
Yeah, he won last time in 488 Challenge. He won. He and Finian raced with us because we didn't have a quorum for broadcast number. So they just decided to hop in and race, and he was up front most of the time at Kansas.
Yep.
I know. I should have pushed a button like
I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
yeah.
Welcome back live to Winding Road Magazine. Right now, you're riding on board with driver Christian Oss as he navigates the end of practice here, Finian. So this is a really cool perspective of someone streaming iRacing through the Twitch platform. Of course, you can watch him directly at the link up there, the top left.
So well.
But it's really cool to see someone set up at home. Of course, he's running triple screens and has a lot of nice gear that I'm sure would look even better if it was all Ricmotech gear. But this is really cool to see how these guys set this up in their own home.
Yeah, indeed it is, and it looks like practice is coming to an end here. But yeah, just having guys, and there's all sorts of different setups. I don't think anyone's setup is the same. There's at least something different, something to customize it, whether it be the wheel. You can see he's got a button box there, I'm pretty sure. It's kind of hard to see from the TV screen we're looking at. But yeah, and you mentioned the triple setups. The guys have some guys are running on a single screen, some guys are running in VR. There's a whole lot of different options that a lot of guys have available to them.
Yep, so looks like Christian is getting himself set up for qualifying here momentarily. We're going to stick with him just for a minute here just to watch a warm-up lap, maybe a qualifying effort here. But you know what's so cool is you mentioned the diversity in the setup spinning. I mean, going from our different setups between what we have, we have pretty similar setups, but you can really build these things out as if it were a race car. I mean, you can spend... You can spend $100 on your setup. You can spend $1,000 on your setup. You can spend $20,000 on your iRacing setup. But this is why this is such a cool simulator and such a cool way to learn how to race, is because you can make it what you want to make it. And I think it was Juan Pablo Montoya that said a couple months ago that sim racing is pretty much useless if you treat it like a game, but if you treat it like Christian Oss does, there's some legitimate uses for it in that respect. So Christian getting on the racetrack right now and setting up for a timed lap here. He's about to work his way through the inner loop, the bus stop here, and open over the curbs. And that proved to be a very important area to pass in race number 1. I don't think it's going to change in race number 2. It's really a place where you can set yourself up. You can gain or lose a lot of time through the inner loop at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, you see him now going down into the boot section.
That's a left-hander downhill. And then you're going to head even more downhill into the toe of the boot, a sharp right-hander that leads uphill. And you and I have driven this racetrack in real life, Finney, and it is a very steep incline that really doesn't do a whole lot of justice. I know iRacing laser scans their racetracks. They're accurate down to the millimeter, but it doesn't really get you that three-dimensional feel. Maybe in virtual reality it does. I haven't had really time to try this in virtual reality yet, which I've been told it's very cool. But I think you really got to go to the racetrack to really gain an understanding for the elevation changes. Same thing with Road Atlanta.
Yeah, it really does give you a big perspective change. It kind of is amazing because you really don't think it does give you a whole lot of change, but it really adds that sense of depth that you really don't get with a two-dimensional screen. It really pretty much feels as if you're there at the track. So it's a big difference and really a big help in a lot of cases too.
So he's working his way now through turns 10 and 11, setting himself up for a flying lap. We'll stick on board with him here for another maybe half a lap or so, and then we're going to jump back to the TV cameras to watch the remainder of qualifying. But before we set ourselves up for our second and final race of the night, a 30-minute sprint race, and that'll be the last points-paying race of the season before we head into Road Atlanta on the 23rd of October, where we will determine our season champion. So this is through turn 1. Got to run way wide to carry a lot of momentum, and then you go up the hill.
Yeah, and then this is really you pretty much this section is almost like a straightaway. These guys aren't really worried about turning through the S's. A lot of people have been able to take advantage of guys leaving the space open to make a pass.
And then along down back straightaway here, then heading again into the bus stop where we're going to cut away from Christian and head back to TV cams. But we'll ride on board with him one more time. You got to hammer these curbs right, left, left, right. And here he comes. It turns in on the right, on the left, and on the right, and bobbling the wheel back and forth, hanging onto it, and then into the carousel. So a cool insight from the driver of the 15 car. So heading back to the TV cams here is Christian now working his way into the boot section. So qualifying is underway here. And a couple drivers, we haven't had anybody lay down a time quite yet, but Paul Darling in this 55, he received a penalty for that contact with T and DJ Alessandrini on lap 1 last race. DJ was surprised at the penalty. I was surprised at the penalty. What do you think?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised at that too. I thought, a little bit more of a racing incident between them. Not really one of those things where it's both their faults. I think, that's kind of wasn't any, I guess, malice in the move, or it was just a simple mistake. But yeah, so a little bit harsh, but we'll see if he can bounce back from it.
So Paul Darling working his way up the hill to start his qualifying effort. Michael Borden in the 42. He's working his way around the racetrack, and he was a legitimate threat to win the race. Wasn't able to do it, but maybe the second time around will be his lucky day.
Yeah, big thing has to make sure is to really qualify in the front. We saw those front four break away and never really looking back. The rest of it wasn't able to catch them, so clearly starting in the front few spots can be very important for a lot of these drivers. You see Borden comes across the line, although he's not particularly fast time.
I think he's really gearing up for a flyer here. Oh, he's going to bail on it. Well, part of the reason is because the drivers that were in front of him, they bailed on their laps too. So you need the draft to be competitive around here in qualifying. Yeah, it is open qualifying, so everyone is out here competing at once.
Yeah, and if anyone saw, if you need any explanation of how important the draft is, you saw the qualifying for the Italian Grand Prix. That a lot of guys value the draft so much so that they'll wait for someone to get in front of them, and fortunately these guys aren't going to be like that and stack up throughout the track, but everyone wants to get behind the other driver. It's really hard to find someone that wants to stay in front, especially if you're one of those guys fighting for those top spots. You want to be the guys getting the spots, not helping everyone else up behind you.
Here's Thomas Lee in the 73. Hasn't entered a whole lot of races this year. He's from Clarksville. But he's here tonight, Finian, and Watkins Glen has the tendency to bring out people because this racetrack is so accessible to pretty much everybody. A lot of people say this is an easy racetrack. I disagree. I don't think it's an easy racetrack. I think it's easy to drive. I don't think it's easy to be fast at it. There's a lot of nuances to this course that I don't think a lot of people understand. And a lot of people really struggle to string together the bus stop effectively. That's really where you can gain or lose the most time around here, and that seems to be where most people find their weaknesses. Robert Hartley jumps to the top of the board in the 03 with a 2:10.643. Nathan Saxon in the 41 sits second right now.
You can see Saxon a little bit ways behind. I'm trying to see what car that is in front of him. Couldn't really tell, but Saxon trying to go up the pecking order. No, it actually looks like he's gonna probably call it a lap.
Bail on that, and I think it was the 21 of Mitchell Peak. Yes, it was. That was in front of him in that red car. And Mitchell Peak has had all sorts of bad luck this season. Really has potential to win a couple races. He's had the speed in a few. It ran really well at Road Atlanta. Then just bad luck always seems to take him out of the fight. Right on board the gyro cam here. This is cool. It gives you kind of a sense of how much lateral rotation you get. I think down towards the toe. You can see how violent that change in elevation is, and it really compresses the springs and puts a lot of weight on the front tires and makes the turn in easy, but accelerating out of this corner is not.
Yeah, and we saw Alan trying to set up a pass on the last lap through this corner, getting a run down to the other side of the boot, but yeah, he wasn't just able to get enough of a run to really make one. Actually, he got alongside, but Hen did a great job defending, and that's where a lot of people, a lot of side-by-side action comes to these final few corners.
A little bit of a delayed shift there coming out of turn 8 and then heading to turn 9. A left-hander back on to the NASCAR course. A very off-camber, awkward corner, leaning over on the right side of these cars. And Miatas are known from the factory. They have a lot of body roll, which is, it makes the car really fun and flickable. On the racetrack, though, they control a lot of that, but you can still see the car leaning over a little bit on corner exit there. There's a lot of lateral load. Coming on through to start a lap, or actually they must be finishing a flyer, is the 21. No. backing off here, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what
Maybe settling in line behind Chris Henn,
so
which is a very smart idea because Chris Henn, of course, won race 1, going to be a challenger for race 2.
So he's lining up behind Chris Henn, and it's going to go a little bit wide.
Way wide, and that's not going to be a great time.
And you can see everyone else kind of lining up, forming a little bit of a group here to draft off of.
Yeah, I mean, this is part of the deal here. Open qualifying at Watkins Glen in a car with about 150, 160 horsepower, you're going to have to get yourself in line. And so Mitchell Peak trying to get himself sorted out here. There it goes. I think that's the 0-3 of Hartley going around him. Yes, it is. And Hartley has gone quickest, but it's only by 0.3 of a second. And you can see his gear selection here. And again, we're carrying so much speed here at Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen's bus stop is typically a third or second gear corner, depending on if you're driving a stock car or a prototype or something like that. Fourth gear in an MX-5, and most of the corners to the boot are also fourth gear.
Looks like Hartley has jumped to the top of the charts. Unfortunately, his name isn't showing up.
Yeah, I'll get that sorted before we go green here.
He's jumped by a pretty significant margin, jumped 0.3 ahead of Alessandrini. He's currently back in second.
So where is DJ Alessandrini? And here he is working his way through the carousel.
Oh, is Hartley in behind him?
Hartley's out in front of him. Hartley's down in the boot right now, and Alessandrini's just entering it. And so DJ, of course, out on lap number 1, seems pretty calm and cool and collected about the whole situation because it doesn't really seem to affect him. He's dominated this season in terms of the points, so he only really has to perform in one more race, and that is the season finale at Road Atlanta on the 23rd of October.
This is pretty much a free race for him. He was 40. Hartley was 40 points behind, so Hartley would have had to win both races, and Alessandrini would have had 50 points. Fortunately, we have less than 20 cars here, so it's by that alone, Alessandrini defaults to being the leader going into the last round. Hartley is going to be pretty much in second, as there was a 43 gap point lead to him and to Henn and Darling. So first 2 spots were determined, but Henn, after that really good run in the first race, is looking like he might claim third. Darling's going to have to come up with something to try to get that spot back.
Steve Fikachi was running inside the top 5 in the last lap of race 1, had a collision, and ended up not finishing in the top 5, for better or for worse. And you see there's a whole host of cars collected on the exit of turn 1, and they scrape right on by.
Yeah, and I think that's all the guys bailing out of this, or finishing their lap and getting ready to start a final run.
Up the hill we climb. Fikachi now going to get a draft off this car in front of him, and long straightaway, we talked about it. 2:11.878. That's about a second and a half, or 1.2 seconds off of Robert Hartley's best time. So still some advantages left for Fikachi to find. Ooh, really deep on the brakes there. Gained a lot on this lead car.
Yeah, it's Mitchell Peak in front of him.
Yeah, but again, you see Fikachi charge into the corner, but you saw how much time he gave up on corner exit. And you always hear the term slow in, fast out, and I think we talked about this with a gentleman from LevelUp Racing School a few weeks ago. And the slow in, fast out, pretty much a concept that works in any race car, but especially so in Miata, especially so at Watkins Glen. I feel like the tendency for a lot of drivers is to drive really deep into the bus stop. They want to get that advantage coming in to make a pass. However, without a long straightaway after the bus stop, people think they can dive in and give up that exit time. Reality is, you're setting yourself up for a corner, which is as important.
Yeah, and really the big thing is, too, with these slower cars, they pretty much become momentum cars. So you want to keep as much momentum going as you can, because it's a lot hard. It takes a lot longer and a lot harder to get up to speed compared to F1 cars, prototypes, and cars of the like of that. So you really need to carry. It's all about carrying as much speed as you can through the corners. And when you see guys charging, that's where they give up a lot of time.
So you talk about momentum. That basically means, in layman's terms, you're going to use the brake as little as possible without giving up your corner entry speed. I mean, you really want to just use a little bit of brake. You're really not stomping full on the pedal. I think these cars do have ABS, so you're not going to be using the full pedal travel of the pedal. You're going to maybe get into it 20, 30, 40%, and then let the car rotate in and get right back on the gas. I feel like in stock cars especially, you're going to be all the way, to the floor almost, threshold braking essentially, get the car slowed down. In these cars, a slight tap on the brakes, get them pointed. They will turn. These are great little sports cars. They will make the corner, but you have to use your momentum wisely.
Yeah, and qualifying going to be wrapping up here soon. We got about a little bit more than 2 minutes left, so you haven't gotten out and started at least got out of the pits yet, you're not going to be able to start another lap. And it's still looking like Hartley up at the top of the charts with Allison Drini second, Nathan Saxon with a good qualifying effort in third, Allen, and then Chris Henn, our last race winner. We'll see if we can do a repeat here.
So looking from high above Watkins Glen International in Watkins Glen, New York, and 3.4 mile, 11 turn road course. And you see pretty sprawling racetrack, Finney. And I think the cool thing about this is a really old school style circuit. You know, if you have visited the town of Watkins Glen, that's where the races used to be held, was in the town. And it was actually home to the first road course race first auto race post World War II in North America. Unfortunately, a spectator was killed there in the late 40s, early 50s, and they built this in 1955, or somewhere about then. Don't remember the exact date off the top of my head.
Around there, yeah.
They built this in upstate New York, and ever since then, it's hosted series like Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, IMSA, and others.
Yeah, it's hosted a whole bunch of series. It's pretty much hosted any series that's come to the U.S.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure
or been in the U.S.
This shares a coveted spot in North America as hosting pretty much every form of racing. The only racing I can think of that doesn't race here is Okay, that was interesting. I don't know what happened there. We were riding on board Chris Henn's car there for a minute. What I was saying, though, was I'm pretty sure Watkins Glen is the only racetrack in North America that has hosted every form of auto racing except for motorcycles. I think that's the only thing that doesn't race at the Glen.
Yeah.
Or hasn't raced at the Glen. Formula One, IMSA, let's see, IndyCar, NASCAR, Trans Am. Grand Am, back when that was a thing. The ALMS,
yeah.
I mean, all sorts of stuff has raced here, going back decades. And there's a reason. It's because it's an old school style racetrack that has very flowing corners. It's very European in style, old school European. This track, I mean, it kind of reminds you, and maybe I'm wrong in this kind of reminds me a little bit of like an American Spa. Is that a wrong thing to say?
No, I think this is pretty much our equivalent to it. In a lot of ways, it's a lot like it, in the layout. Especially if you look at it from the S's, this is like El Rouge, Radiant, and then down.
It's the exact opposite, essentially,
yeah.
of Eau Rouge. So we're running on board with Thomas Lee, and I think the other thing that I like about Watkins Glen is how fast it is. Average speeds here, well over 100 miles an hour in pretty much every car you race here. You can carry momentum. You can use stock cars here and not have a terrible time. Prototypes love it here. Indy cars, any kind of open wheel. It's a spectacular track for pretty much everything. And that's why it's so much fun to drive, is because whether you're driving a 160 horsepower Miata or a 700 horsepower prototype, this racetrack is just as fun to drive. So about 2 minutes left in the qualifying session now as the times conclude. And Mitchell Peak was not really able to improve on his 2:13.2 Finian, so he struggled here in qualifying.
Yeah, he's looking at this last lap. This is the last chance he's got to improve that. He's going to be starting effectively at the back of the field, back in 15th.
So while we have a moment, I want to thank our sponsors again that have allowed us to come out here and do this. And I think we'd be remiss without thanking RacewayTech High Performance Sim Racing Equipment. We were showing Christian Ost earlier. Got all sorts of awesome sim racing equipment, but you can get yourself some more and some really high quality stuff at RacewayTech's website, linked in the video description. Winding Road Racing and Winding Road Magazine, they've allowed us to come on their platform. We don't work for Winding Road. We're not Winding Road employees, but they have granted us use of their YouTube channel graciously and without much oversight, actually, which is a little bit concerning. But they've allowed us to use their channel to bring you the SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge. And again, if you're curious about us, we're our SimTV. You can find us at youtube.com/SimTV Broadcasting. We're usually streaming 5 to 7 days a week. And got some fun stuff over there to watch as well, besides the SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge. Of course, Paradigm Shift, we talked about a little bit earlier, Finney, and the data now. There's so much data that you can look at to make yourself a better race car driver. And, you know, we work with MyLaps, the transponder team that over at MyLaps with the Indy Elite Series. And there's just, you know, an incredible amount of data that can be accumulated and used as telemetry to view your performance as a race car driver and understand it. And I think the one thing that I always see when I go to events like Grid Life is as soon as Eric Coutil is done winning races, he pulls off, he heads back to his motor coach, he pulls open his laptop, and he's looking at data. And Paradigm Shift is going to help you understand who you are as a driver and offers all sorts of impressive services. They also have some track guides, which you can go find a Watkins Glen track guide on their website and go indulge yourself in that. And it's been a pleasure working with them, as well as LevelUp Racing School, who is offering one of the season end prizes that we will distribute on October 23rd. And one of these drivers in this field will get a chance to kickstart their professional racing career and use the Mazda ladder to climb up, hopefully, to the top. We're also actively working on grabbing or trying to talk to IMSA drivers Tristan Nunez.
Yeah, from the Mazda prototype team. We're trying to get in touch with them. They've been pretty busy though.
They have been very busy, and that's why it hasn't. I'm trying not to put them out of their way because they've got a lot that under their.
They got more important stuff.
They got more important stuff to do to talk
the best
to
way
us.
to put it.
But it was really cool because Mazda. I think one of the things we haven't really talked a whole lot about this season is Mazda as a manufacturer in racing, because they put so much effort into developing drivers from a young age, from from nothing to bringing them all the way to the top level of motorsports. And I think Mazda's ladder from the Global MX-5 Cup to SPEC MX-5 Challenge, Pro Mazda as well with the open wheel side of things, and moving all their drivers up, and the drivers that have made their way into the prototypes. And that's so cool to watch a guy like Tristan Nunez, to watch a guy like John DeAllen climb those ranks and have a chance at what a lot of these guys would consider a lifetime dream.
Yeah, it's almost everyone's dream that's a fan of motorsports to be sitting in prototype, an IndyCar, NASCAR, F1 car, you name it, motorcycles, being at the top level of racing, going 200 miles an hour down straightaways. It's pretty much everyone's dream to be in those forms of motorsports, and it's been pretty hard in the past. It's one of those situations where you pretty much had to know someone to get yourself in a race car or have a lot of money, but nowadays with a whole lot of smaller series it really gives a lot of chances to smaller guys to get into potential big rides.
So one of the cool things I just saw shared on Facebook this afternoon, Finian, was the SPEC MX-5 Challenge is using upgraded race cars for next year as an option. And one of the highlights of the package is that they've improved the horsepower up 15 horsepower for the second generation race car. But the coolest thing for me is that you can reserve one of those cars to race in their series. You can buy them from Mazda and Winding Road for $38,000 said and done. $38,000 to race in a friggin' racing series. That is awesome to me.
That's a pretty sweet deal.
And this isn't, you're not just racing, I mean, this is different from SPEC Miata. SPEC Miata, you go get yourself a little NB or NA Miata, you soup it up, you put a roll cage in it, you go racing on the weekends. SPEC MX-5, totally different thing, and a much more advanced racing series and a legitimate way to climb the ladder. You win that championship, you get yourself a scholarship for the Global MX-5 series, and we all know a lot of greats start there.
Like you said, a lot of big names and a lot of guys that we actually knew that competed in Global MX-5.
Well, and the other cool thing as we look through the grid on the left-hand side of the screen here is, when we look at racing expenses, right? $38,000 to some might sound like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, Finian, look at a V8 Camaro. To just buy a V8 Camaro, you're already looking in the mid-30s.
Yeah.
And that's not a race car. That's a street car with a big engine in it. And the SPEC MX-5 for $38,000 said and done shipped, that is spectacularly affordable for anyone wanting to compete in a racing series.
Yeah, that's a funny thing too, because legally, legally you can go a lot faster than the Miata on racetracks than you can with a Camaro on streets.
Oh well, I mean, look, a Camaro, for example, might be able to do 160.
Yeah, but
you're never going to do it on the road. You might be able to do only 120 in a Miata, but you're going to be flying on a racetrack.
Yeah. I
mean, we were down the road Atlanta for a Grid Life Touring Cup a couple weeks ago, and we saw with our own eyes that we were riding on board a Dodge Challenger with Luke McGrew. That car's fast.
Yeah.
But it was being pulled by Miatas through the corners. I mean, that is how incredible these little MX-5s are. As they're so nimble that speed isn't necessarily measured in 0 to 60. It might be quick, but it's not fast.
And as they're coming through the boot for the final time under the pace car tonight, getting ready for race number 2. Reminder, it's 30 minutes this time around.
Yeah, so taking one final look at our format for the night. A little bit behind schedule here this evening, so our 30-minute sprint race is about to start. Instant limit of 17. And at this point, I don't really know if anybody cares about points. I think you're just going to try to get yourself in position to do well at Road Atlanta in a few weeks. So maybe if you're 5th, 6th, 7th, you're worried about points. But for DJ Alessandrini, Robert Hartley, Chris Henn, all going for a victory here in this race. And they won't accept anything less.
And DJ Alessandrini to trying to redeem himself after what happened in race number 1 after being put in the taken out pretty early on, wasn't really able to race a whole lot, and he's finally back here up in the first row. So let's see if he can do anything and bring a new challenge to these drivers. And I'm actually curious too how many drivers are going to be pulling away in this lead pack. We only had 4, and it was a pretty small pack. We could see a bigger one this time through.
I expect to see a larger pack. I think people have sorted this out. They know what they're up to. And I think we're going to see a closer race this time through as well. So DJ Alessandrini on the inside of that front row. It's going to be the outside for turn 1, but Robert Hartley starting on pole on driver's right. And, you know, a lot of times I like to be on driver's left for turn 1. You get all that runoff room to run out wide and carry your momentum. So maybe DJ will drive off into turn 1 and come out with the lead. 30 minutes, the penultimate round of the season here for the SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge. We have 1 round left at Road Atlanta on the 23rd of October. But for now, 1 final race, 30 minutes at Watkins Glen. Green flag flies, racing in upstate New York.
Yeah, you see the 42 Michael Bourne immediately pulling out a line. You see also a driver in the background as well. That's
Christian
Ost pulling out, and a few guys making some moves here. Alessandrini's going to go to the side, and Hartley's going to lead them down.
3 wide down into turn 1, and Christian Ost took a bunch of them down into turn 1. Made a few passes down there, but ooh, look at Chris Henn getting himself slotted into the line. Not a great qualifying effort. We got to have a car spun around, and big crash to the entering the S's here.
And I think this started with Mitchell Peak. I think when he was trying to merge back on the track, I think collected a few guys.
Yeah, let's take a quick look at this. We don't want to pull you away from too much live action.
Yeah, watch Mitchell Peak in that dark red car to the outside is going to come into the track.
That'll
clips
almost
Christian
certainly be a penalty there. Yeah, that was a little silly. I mean, you're allowed to use the off-track area, but you can't just drive your way back on and through everybody.
Honestly, you should have just driven into the grass and merged back on a little bit more safely.
Yeah, Shabelsky caught up in that, or no, it was Elijah Klopp in the 17 that got caught up in that. So a big mistake by the 21 of Mitchell Peak. It's going to cost him and several others a chance to run for a victory here tonight. 2-car breakaway at the front, Hartley Alessandrini and Steve Ficacci. He's going around in the carousel.
Oh, yeah, so another driver dropping out.
It was wide, and he was on the outside. Oh, again! And Bresci, big impact here for him, and Ficacci as well. And these guys got together in race 1. They walked away amicably. I don't know if this one will be the same way.
Yeah.
Oh. Not a great start to this one. Let's look from up above and see if we can get a better idea here.
Yeah, Ficacci went wide. Bresci was a little bit too far to the right because I don't think he was expecting.
Yeah, this is just bad timing here.
Yeah.
I don't really think anybody's at fault. I think Race Control might put that on the 24, but I'm not sure how that's going to pan out. Let's jump back up to the lead, though, because Robert Hartley is leading the way, and Alessandrini sits second, but they're starting to stretch out on Paul Darling here, Finian.
Yeah, they're starting to pull away just a little bit. Doesn't look like they will, but Darling in behind him. He's got Saxon, Henn, Allen, Borden, Scott, and Sanchez. They're all really close in behind. And we're starting to see that lead pack starting to form and break away.
Yeah, it seems like they're stretching out in the first lap, but then kind of coming back together like an accordion after the draft starts to pick up when they've got some speed going. So you see them start to snake down the front straightaway off into turn 1. Hartley leads lap number 1.
Yeah, so pretty much everyone up from Borden is in that leading pack. So we've got 7 cars this time around.
And behind Sam Scott, actually go back a little ways, that's Mark Snodgrass, Thomas Lee, and then up from Elijah Kloft on back. A lot of damage. Christian Ost, that car is totaled. Thomas Bresci, yeah, this car's done.
Yeah, crabbing down into the pits he'll go.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate end to his night. Up front, though, Hartley continues to lead the way. Maybe going to be doing a little snake down the back straight. 7 or 8 cars. Look at Borden popping out of line side by side with John D. Allen. DJ took a look down into the bus stop.
Yeah, had a little peek, but is going to still sit in behind him. Everyone else falling through a bunch of different lines. Henn couldn't get really close to the apex of the corner. They're almost cutting the corner. But he's running a really fine line, trying to get himself up ahead of Nathan Saxon.
Nose to tail. And in about 6 minutes, we'll have the entire length of race 1 ahead of us. This is a much longer race. DJ, I wouldn't say struggling to keep up with Hartley, but it's not as close to the 0-3 as I would have expected just yet.
Might be just giving him a little bit of space. I guess no real reason to be all up over the 0-3. So I think he's just kind of waiting until really he has to force the issue, which it really should be for another 20 minutes. One guy who is forcing the issue though is Chris Henry's trying to get up in to the inside. I think really what we saw in the last race is everyone was fighting for that second place, not necessarily for first until the final lap. So we might see a lot of that again, which could make the lead very interesting.
Yeah, Michael Borden was a top 5 driver in race number 1. I expect to see a similar performance out of race number 2, and he sits 7th right now in a big pack of cars in front of him. I think he's just waiting to pick him off as they have an issue. So Linus Stern in front, the top 6. Hartley, Alessandrini, Darling, Saxon, Henn, and Allen. Had to lift out of the throttle there to make turn number 10. And back onto the front straight. DJ now right on the bumper of the 0-3. Maybe he'll look for the lead on the front straight, or maybe he'll sit in line.
Yeah, we see. I think Alessandrini will wait. I think he's been probably one of the most patient guys in this kind of scenario where they're riding in right behind the leader. He's been known for waiting quite a while to make a pass. Here comes Saxon, though, to the inside of Paul Darling for 3rd.
Saxon tried to complete that pass. It looks like he will, and a bit of a cluster out of turn number 1. And in the background, saw a couple other cars running wide, but side by side up through the S's, and Chris Henn trying to gather some ground. He's going to move his way up into 3rd. What a power move by the 33.
Yeah, and also there's Allen trying to follow in on through behind Henn. Did something similar in race number 1, as they both try to power onto the inside. Saxon's got some help from Darling and Borden in behind.
They get really dicey off into the inner loop here. Gotta find your comfort zone behind the driver in front of you. Oh, Allen is off the racetrack.
He's spinning through the grass, and he'll loop it around.
Yeah, that was coming from a long way back. No damage. He'll continue.
But we'll lose a lot of time in the process. He's back in 10th.
Here's a look at right on board here at the 0-2.
I think took a little bit too much curb. Yeah, you see he got upset by that first curb on entry. And it was all spinning from there.
There's another look. Just jumped over the curb a little bit too much, got the car off balance, and just got behind and saving it. Thankfully didn't have any other collisions. He'll continue back down in 10th place. Paul Darling, Michael Borden still locked in a great battle for 5th as they climb the hill heading towards turn number 8.
We're now down to 6 drivers in this little pack. Although I see Samuel Scott up in the distance back in 7th. But he's trailing these guys by a little bit. He might be able to get back in there if he pushes a little bit more. He's so close to getting the draft.
He had a car on top of him in race number 1, so he's actually trying to rebound from what could have been a much better race 1. Sitting 7th right now. You mentioned it, 2.7 seconds back from Borden. Got some work to do, but it's possible. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Hartley and Alessandrini have swapped places and all that.
And Borden sideways out of the second last corner.
He did. That was almost a crash here. Here's a look.
Yeah, I thought he was going to crash.
Wow, look at that save.
That's a straight-on drift.
Look from on board. This is driving here, folks.
Yeah, that's what you call wheeling the car. It's going to clip a little bit too much of the curb, get some of the grass, upsets the car, but does a great job.
Wow, great drive. That's got to be probably the save of the season that I've seen in one of these. These are not easy cars to save once you get it past a certain point. And he had it past that certain point. When he was full opposite lock, that's enough for me.
Yeah, these are not drift cars, so trying to keep the slide like that and keep yourself from spinning is a hard thing to do. But here comes Hartley over the back of Alessandrini. We'll see if Hartley will try to make a pass back on the 91. They have a little bit of a gap back to Chris Henn, about half a second.
Alessandrini moves back over to the left. You get one defensive move, Finney, and that doesn't mean you get to return back to the racing line if you go defensive. So you got to be careful with that. You don't want to get yourself a penalty. Robert Hartley sits second. Chris Henn, though, is in third, the race 1 winner. He could sweep the races here at Watkins Glen with how good he's been so far.
He's definitely got the shot at doing so if he keeps his pace up. He's got to get past the 2 best guys in this series.
Car around in the carousel, I believe that's Jack Sanchez. And his night has been pretty abysmal as well. Nothing of his own doing, but probably a similar situation to the 0-2.
Got the second curb, and that upset his car.
And whoa, the 12 of, was that Shabelsky?
Shabelsky, and whoa, Allen comes in there flying.
Let's go back and run on board with John DeYellen as he came on through. You're committed to a single line. He was already sliding himself.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, he was a little bit wide there on the exit and just decided to commit, went through the grass. and was narrowly able to avoid that 23.
I'm telling you, I'm watching this 33, this third car in line, Chris Henn. He looks so balanced right now. He was the quickest car on the racetrack the last time through, a 2:11.599. It's that bright green car, third in line. And to me, this is my pick to win this race. I know Hartley and Alessandrini are talented, but Chris Henn seems to be in tune with this racetrack and this evening.
Most curious how patient all these other guys are behind, like Saxon, Darling, and even Borden again too, that have that were not up here earlier in the race, or in race number 1, I should say. But they look like they're pretty comfortable just sitting in line for now, just kind of riding this out and waiting for the moment to strike. See, every single person missed the corner.
Oh man, you know, it kind of reminds me of the Global MX-5 Cup Series. Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you saw Paul Darling in the background again. These guys have a incident limit at 17x, so you know every time they clip that grass in, you're probably gonna get a few off tracks elsewhere. Just due to the nature of the circuit, or you're climbing over some of the curbing, you might get another 1x here and there. You can easily rack up those incident points, especially when you get down to it and you start making some contact.
So Alessandrini looking pretty defensive right now. He wants to keep Hartley in behind him. Why would he want to do that? I mean, don't you want to be second on the last lap?
I mean, I would. I'm guessing he feels like he's strong enough to be in the lead and be able to defend. And you can go either way. Obviously, I would think the easier route would be to be in second, but you might not always make that pass. And I think that's Alessandrini's concern, and I think he feels more comfortable being in the lead in this situation.
So Chris Henn slips back to 4th, and I think he might have had a bit of a moment into the bus stop here, or at least coming out of it. And
I think Saxon just got a much better line through him. You see him just being a little wide on that curb. Saxon all over his back bumper, and as a look to the inside of the carousel, that forces Henn to check up and give him the lane.
Yeah, it was a well-executed pass by the 41 of Nathan Saxon. And again, it's all about the slow in, fast out in the bus stop. Up in front, though, it's DJ Alessandrini, your points leader. Robert Hartley is second in the points and would love nothing more than to beat DJ one final time, maybe because we head to Road Atlanta on the 23rd of October to complete the season. And DJ is going to be a really hard driver to beat there. Again, he's been kind of taking it easy and just going for, you know, not taking the points thing seriously because he hasn't needed to. He's has such a huge lead, but come Road Atlanta, he's going to need to do everything he can to stay out in front.
Yeah, he's going to lose that lead. He's going to become much more vulnerable, pretty much the most we've seen since the season began. So, as Hartley's going to be only 2 points behind him going into that final race. So, it's going to be big here. It's going to be big if Alessandrini makes a mistake or worse, gets caught up in someone else's mistake, as we saw in race 1. It could happen, and that would mean Hartley has a really good shot at getting the championship.
So I'd like you to kind of explain what this last race is going to look like in terms of the format, because we've talked all this season about just winning races and getting yourself in position, but the last race isn't structured like a normal race. Could you just do a brief explanation on how exactly this is going to work?
Yeah, so championship leader, which is going to be Alessandrini, is going to be going into the final race with 40 points after the reset, as he actually goes defensive. Here comes Hartley on his outside. Hartley is going to get cool 38 points. Chris Henn's going to get 36, and so on and so forth down the field to 20th. And those guys are then going to just go into the race normally and earn the same normal amount of points, 20 for winning, 19 for second for both races, and then those 2 points total from the races added up with the championship points going in will determine your championship. So Alessandrini, he's had a lot of fun up until now with that nice lead, but he's going to have to kiss it goodbye.
So interesting how we said earlier that the field would kind of accordion back together. It looks like that has happened now. We have the top 6 from Alessandrini down to Darling lined up in single file order, and it's 7.5 seconds back to Sam Scott, who's all by himself in P7.
Yeah, I see John Allen, after his mistake, he's been able to rebound to 8th, getting by Shabalski.
So anyway, this front group, though, now it gets a little bit concerning for me because there's too many cars in this group. Like, if you're 6th in line, if you're Paul Darling, you can't win from 6th on the last lap unless the crash happens. So you need to get yourself into 2nd. The guy in 2nd wants to be in 2nd, Finian, because that's where you want to be on the last lap to use that slipstream. So they're going to start slicing and dicing amongst themselves, and that might let DJ drive away. Hartley almost did last race. About 17 minutes left in this race. We're closing in on halfway. And full throttle through turn number 10. Let's just ride on board. We're going to be quiet for a minute. We're just going to listen to the sounds of the engine here for a lap. Battling for the lead continues. Alessandrini, Hartley, Saxon, Borden, Henn, and Darling all lined up nose to tail halfway through this race, Finian. We got 15 and a half minutes left. Maybe too easy of a question, but who's your pick?
Oh, honestly, it's really not that easy of a question. We got 6 potential candidates of it in case something happens to the first few guys. Got Darling in the back that can easily move himself up or just reap the benefits from a potential mistake from these front guys. Honestly, I think I'm going to pick Chris Henn again. He was able to do it one time, and I think he should be able to do it again.
Yeah, he sits 5th place right now, though, so he's got a little bit of work to do. A lot of time left to get this sorted out, but you have to get by Borden, Saxon, and Hartley to get yourself in position to win this thing. That's no easy, that's a tall task, no easy feat there. DJ has been very defensive the last couple laps and holding on to this lead. And I'm curious when push comes to shove on the final couple laps, if he might draw a penalty from race control. I mean, so far I don't think he's done anything out of the ordinary, but it's possible he could get a penalty for blocking potentially.
Yeah, and it's really not so much it's not really a big thing if he gets a penalty in this race. It's a big thing though if he gets it into next race. If he gets a penalty on the last lap and can't serve it this race, you've seen in the past that can carry over to the next race or the next round. So guys got to be careful here because especially that could be the big thing that takes some guys out of the championship.
Michael Borden saw an opportunity to the inside of Saxon on the exit of turn 1. He took it. He moves up into 4th place, tries to go for 3rd on the inside of the 41. Going to be a drag race. Chris Henn is going to maybe try to take it 3 wide. Trying to go through the middle. That's going to get dicey.
Yeah, he had to look at it and thought better of it. He's going to stand behind, let these two sort it out. But Borden's been making quite a few good moves. He's moved himself from the back in 6th, through Darling, through Henn, and now through Saxon up into 3rd place. He's got just Hartley and Alessandrini up ahead of him.
13 and a half minutes to go. The front two separated by about 0.3 of a second. Then it's Borden, Saxon, Henn right behind. Henn now has an opportunity to get by Saxon. He's going to try to dive underneath him. No, he won't. He backs out. He's going to try to set him up maybe for turn number 7.
I think he faked him out there on the entry there. Was maybe trying to do so. He's going to have a nice run here to the heel of the boot, looking for a move. He's going to sit right in behind Saxon through here.
He lifted. He's being very patient. He's going to wait here a moment and try to get a better run.
Yeah, I mean, he's got quite a bit of time left. He's got 13 minutes to get around 4 cars, so he's got some time to try to plan something out, maybe wait for an opportunity to present itself.
Running out of time. We're past the halfway point in this race, and as soon as the checkered flag flies here, there's no more opportunities to gain points until the season-ending race on the 23rd of October, where we will crown a champion and give them an opportunity to jumpstart their racing career. To learn more, check out that video description right below this video, and you can learn exactly what is on the line for these guys. We're not just racing for fun here, Finian. We're racing for a career, possibly even for someone's life when it comes to racing here. I mean, some of these drivers, let's pretend here that Robert Hartley wins this experience. If he goes out there and runs really well in a test, your name is on the map now. And you become another arrow in the quiver, as John Hindhoff would say, in someone's racing development plan. You could end up driving for Mazda, and you could end up on a prototype team someday. And that's what's on this. We're not just playing for fun here.
And especially, too, with the DPI 2.0 regulations coming out, and a lot of manufacturers have shown some interest. So, I mean, it's a great stepping stone just into the sports car world in general, especially with the rise of it back up in the U.S. It's a really good time to try to get yourself into the driver's market.
This is basically the closest thing you're going to get to Gran Turismo Sports program, where they get people on the racetrack in real life. This is what this is. Again, we're not just out here. I mean, we're in the iRacing.com simulation service, where usually you're just competing for bragging rights. Bragging rights, yes, but we're also competing for someone's chance to kickstart a real-world racing career. And I think that can't be overstated enough. Front two starting to try to break away. About 3 to 4 tenths between Hartley and Borden, who sits 3rd right now. How about that 42 car, though? Maybe he holds the key for this final race. Maybe he can sneak in there and get himself a victory.
That'd be awesome for Borden. Again, Alessandrini put it best. Ever since Road America, that win he got there has really stepped it up in his game and has been up there fighting with a lot of these guys. So, championship standings after race number 1. Chris Henn closed in a little bit on the leaders, and that's important because, you know, the points already are going to matter at Road Atlanta. But for Alessandrini and Hartley, they're broken away. They're going to try not to have to worry about Chris Henn and Paul Darling. They need to
be perfect if they want to keep Chris Henn, because Chris Henn has been so good lately, and Paul Darling as well. They've both gotten extremely, extremely good performance the last couple weeks.
Yeah, Nathan Saxon, he got quite a big boost there. He's actually fighting with Darling. They're separated by 2 points for 4th place, so Saxon is currently in 5th, and the points could easily get 4th, and that's 2 extra championship points going towards him the next round. So that's a big for him, and he's actually, at the moment, they're tied the way they're running.
So DJ leads the way. 10 minutes left. What is that in laps? About 5. About 5 laps to go, and look, here comes Chris Henn to the inside of Nathan Saxon, trying to get his way back up into the chance to win this race. Door to door through turn 1. He's going to get pinched down a little bit, but they're going to run wide on exit.
Yeah, they're going to run way wide, and you see Saxon trying to join the track, going to go over the grass, and they actually lost quite a bit of time doing that, and the front 3 are now broken away.
So now, does Saxon and Henn, do they work together to try to get up to those front 3, or will they settle it amongst themselves? Looks like the 42 of Borden now putting pressure on Hartley. Borden comes to 2nd. Hartley's going to lift off the throttle and fall into 3rd.
Yeah, with a big draft, and here comes Borden. He's going to try to do 2 for 1. Here's Allison Jr. comes back over to try to block off for the bus stop.
Side by side for the lead. Borden backs out. Behind them, Henn. Look at the huge run that Chris Henn got through the inner loop there.
And Henn had to back out of that, otherwise we got it into Hartley. So now Hartley in 3rd, Henn in 4th. Henn's now on the move and starting to move up through the spots. So we've got 5 laps to go.
5 to go. Michael Borden moves into the place that everyone wants to be right now. 2nd place. Hartley 3rd. Chris Henn 4th. No one can make a single mistake or they'll be out for the remainder of the race. DJ in front. He's led the most laps tonight. 2/10 ahead of Michael Borden, but that pink 42 is looking really, really racy.
You can see him taking a different line on the exit of that corner, just trying to build up a run on the 91. We'll see what he can do now. Borden, who was back in 6th at one point in this pack, has driven himself all the way up right in behind the 91 here. He's going to be right pretty much where you want to be on the final lap. We'll see if Hartley tries to take that spot back.
And we're looking at the bottom right, that gear selection. If you miss a gear, you're not going to win this race. That's how tight this is up front.
Yeah, or if you will make a mistake and you can definitely blow your motor. We saw that with, I think, Chris Henn at Coda, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been another track.
No, it was Jesse Stevens at Coda. Chris Henn is at Laguna Seca.
Okay. So but we've seen quite a few guys take themselves out of a potential win from downshifting or either missing gear, putting in the wrong gear, or making a mistake on shifting and damaging the motor. And especially right now where it counts, where 6 guys have a chance to win, you don't want to let that chance slip away from you.
Hartley pulling way out of line. I'm going to make the assumption that that's just to get out of the mirror of the front 2. You want to try to be a distraction to those drivers behind you. Once you disappear out of their mirror, they don't know where you are. It's a great strategy move, and Hartley does it again, climbing the hill here. Chris Henn loses a little bit of ground. He had to defend from Saxon as they climb the S's, but Borden Alessandrini fighting for that top spot. Maybe Borden tries to make a move here. Maybe he'll just sit in line.
Yeah, there's not really much of a place for him to go. Hartley, on the other hand, is going to make a move out of it. Going to pretty much do what Borden did to him earlier. And they're going to be side by side for 2nd place. Alessandrini trying to pick a line he wants to go through.
Side by side into the bus stop for 2nd place. Door to door. Hartley over the curbs. He'll take 2nd away. What a great move there by the 03.
Yeah, I'm actually curious if Alessandrini got a little bit of a bump from the 42. It looked like he might have. But Hartley going to move himself back into 2nd place. Borden back to 3rd. Now here comes Chris Henn forcing the issue. He might be able to try to get 3rd here.
Yeah, I think Chris Henn really needs to
get...
Oh, yeah, down to the inside of Borden. And as quickly as Borden climbed up the order, he's going to get shuffled back into 4th, maybe even 5th, as Saxon looks to his inside.
Yeah, great move by Chris Henn there to pull out last second, make a dive in on Borden, and it worked. So Chris Henn now up into 3rd. Borden now falling back into the clutches of Darling and Saxon.
Yeah, maybe even back to 5th as Darling and Saxon continue to fight for that P5 spot. But Hartley back P2 and Chris Henn sitting in the wings in 3rd. Look at Hartley again popping out of line of Alessandrini's mirror, just trying to be a distraction for the leader. Not much going on behind these guys. It's just the battle up front. The top 6 cars nose to tail.
I'm curious now how much Chris Henn's going to wait and skip, because remember, he has to skip by 2 cars, Hartley and Alessandrini here. So I'm curious if he might go after Hartley with 2 to go and then Alessandrini with 1, or if he even has the time to wait.
I don't think he can just pass Hartley. Hartley is going to be like a mosquito in his ear on the last lap. He's going to need to pass him and also maybe force him into a mistake that costs him more than one spot, because I don't think you're going to get another opportunity. Hartley out of turn 11, looks to the inside, maybe a defensive move on the 33 as well, right on board with Chris Henn.
See these guys deep on the brakes into the corner. Wide they go.
Henn missed the apex there by a couple feet. Didn't cost him a whole lot, though, because he could use the runoff to make up for it. But now Chris Henn's going to get really 2 drafts here, one off of DJ and one off of Hartley. So Hartley's going to be going faster from DJ's draft, and Chris Henn will get basically the addition of both of those drafts. And look at this big run. Maybe he's going to sit here and follow Hartley to the lead. Maybe Hartley's the easier car to beat. A lot of things going on in Chris Henn's head, but he shoves Hartley to the top spot.
He's going to give Hartley a bit of a shove, maybe try to force these two guys to maybe make contact or something, but Hartley gets out into the lead in front of Alessandrini. Borden's going wide though through the bus stop.
That'll be a cut.
Yeah, he's going to get a cut right there. Saxon now to his inside.
Yeah, so Borden will have to give up some time there potentially. Meanwhile, Hartley is taking the lead away from Alessandrini with 3 laps to go. And what does that mean? That means that DJ, the dominant car of the night, is shuffled back to 2nd place. And we know DJ is not going to wait there. So I think this is exactly what Chris Henn wanted, is these front 2 to fight.
Yeah, look at Alessandrini. He's really forcing the issue, and behind Hartley just ran wide a little bit. Didn't see a mistake out of DJ, though. That'd be very uncharacteristic of him.
Well, DJ and Hartley, they've had a couple run-ins this year, all racing incidents for sure, but these guys race so hard and so close that they're bound to make a mistake, and at a racetrack this big, there's a lot of room for mistakes. Chris Henn diving in 3rd place, and they're separating from Saxon just a little bit. Henn needs that breathing room if he wants to be aggressive in these final 2 laps.
Coming out of the boot, they're going to come around. They're going to see 2 laps to go, and I think that's really where we're going to see a kickoff, especially for guys like Saxon, Borden, and Darling. They have to get the move on now. They got no choice.
That means you have to be perfect. The next 2 laps, no mistakes. Alessandrini sits 2nd. He's building a little bit of a gap here, and I have to believe that this is on purpose. So Hartley now has a almost 4/10 of a second lead. Why would Alessandrini want to leave a big gap here before the back straight, Finia?
Yeah, he's going to want to try to leave a gap so that way you can get a really good draft up into Hartley. The only problem he has to worry about is backing up. It leaves him to getting passed by Chris Henn behind. Speaking of a pass, you see Borden to the inside of Saxon. Can't get it done.
Whoa, Saxon way out the edge of the racetrack.
Off the track.
And that might cost him here. The 42 might be able to get to the inside. No, he will not.
Oh, and I think that might have just killed all 3 of their momentum. I think they're going to be too far for the final lap.
About a second back from that lead group. DJ building up a run. I don't think DJ wants to make a move here, but Chris Henn certainly would have liked to. Oh no, here comes DJ with a look to the outside lane.
Interesting stuff here. They're going to be side by side, him and Hartley, through the bus stop.
Tucks back in line.
Yeah, Allison, you're going to back out of it for now.
Saxon, really good entry in 4th place into the bus stop. Was able to gain a little bit of ground back.
Yes, and for Saxon, really, he's in this position. As soon as he catches these guys, he's got to make a pass on Henn. He really can't afford to wait now as he's got a lap and a half to go. 2
groups of 3 cars. A lap and a half left in the regular season here for the SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. 1 round remains after this, and that's where we'll crown our champion and kickstart their racing career. So much on the line. Hartley and Alessandrini both have had a handful of victories. Chris Henn has as well, but which one has the most momentum heading into Road Atlanta in October? Hartley goes defensive out of turn 7 here.
A surprising move there. You see Chris Henn going over to try to get a draft. DJ is going to say, no thank you, sir, and try to pull between them. And now Henn going back out to the outside.
Into the braking zone for turn 8. DJ maybe try to cross over Hartley. And a big run on exit. He's going to maybe try to dive up the inside. No, he's going to be patient and wait here. I think Chris Henn's going to have to bank on DJ and Hartley getting together.
Whoa, or actually it looks like Henn and Alessandrini might get together. They almost got to Alessandrini slow on the exit of the boot. But yeah, now it's all on the line now. White flag going to be in the air next time by. 1 lap to go.
On the curbing, right up to the edge of the rumble strip. White flag going to be in the air this time through. There's 1 minute and 23 seconds remaining. That means there's 1 lap left in the season here in the SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. Hartley, defensive on the front straight. DJ chases him down. 11 corners left at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, these guys aren't going to be waiting now. If you're going to catch someone, you're going to make a pass on them now. White flag in the air. They don't have many more opportunities other than this. So now you see Alessandrini get a fantastic run on Hartley. Hartley goes back over to try to block the line. Henn going to get a draft off of both of them.
Side by side, a through the S's. DJ's to the inside for turn number 3. Door to door as they climb the hill. Chris Henn's going to get a massive run. Does he make it 3 wide here? Or will DJ clear Hartley by the time they get to turn 4? He's going to chase him back to the inside curbing. A big run for Chris Henn. Where does he go with it?
He's going to try to follow Alessandrini on through, maybe try to get side by side, just a little bit ahead of Hartley. Maybe try to give Alessandrini a bump. No, he's going to back out of it.
Side by side into the bus stop. Alessandrini noses back ahead of Hartley. Saxon is now in the picture. A 4-car fight for the lead at Watkins Glen.
Oh, there you see Saxon. He's going to go to the inside. Henn going to block him off last second. That could have been a wreck there.
Yeah, that was smart by Saxon to back out. That could have been a collision, could have drawn a penalty. DJ and Hartley nose to tail, but the great passing opportunities are over. Chris Henn needs to push the issue, push the 0-3 past the 91 if he wants a chance to win this thing. Only a couple of corners left. We're heading down to turn 7 of 11 turns.
Hartley looking on the inside to the heel of the boot, not going to make a move. No, and looks like Henn's going to try to fancy move, give a bump to Hartley. Not going to be enough for him.
Look at Michael Borden in 5th at the back of that shot. He is coming as well. Drag race down the back straightaway. We only have 3 corners left.
Yeah, running out of chances here. Here they come to the top of the boot. Is someone going to pull out a line, make a move here? Will Henn try something? No, it doesn't look like he's got enough.
Hartley deep on the brakes. He's right in the bumper of DJ Alessandrini.
Almost gives him a bump here. They come to the exit of the boot. Hartley going to line up a pass here. No, he's going to pull him behind. When is he going to make the move? He's really running out of turns now.
Maybe a push, maybe a shove. He's going to need it. 2 corners left. Turn 10, turn 11, front straight. That's all they have. Alessandrini's been dominant this season. He's been dominant this race. Can anyone wrestle a victory away from him in the final moments at Watkins Glen? In just over a month, we'll contest to see who can kickstart their racing career. For DJ Alessandrini, a points lead coming into this event, a points lead leaving this event as they come to the front straightaway behind them. A scramble, but DJ Alessandrini is going to come to the checkered flag. He'll win. Behind him, a drag race, but it's Hartley in 2nd, Henn, Saxon, Borden, your top 5.
Yeah, man, Darling rounding out this leading pack of 6 drivers. John DeAllen going to come home in 7th. I'm sure he's going to be disappointed. Had a shot at the win there before his mistake, but a decent 7th place finish nonetheless. Then it'll be Samuel Scott in 8th, Brian Chabelsky 9th, and Mark Snodgrass rounding out your top 10.
Wow, DJ did a great job defending, and Hartley really never got a good enough run to really make anything happen here. And we want to go back and look at some of this last lap. I'm really curious mostly about this last run down the straight heading towards turn 8. Hartley really was close here, and I thought he would have had a run to the inside of him in turn 8 or 9 here.
I'm surprised he didn't make the attempt here, at least faster, because again, these guys are both just kind of going for the win at this point.
He could have stuck a nose in there, but maybe he was afraid of drawing a penalty. And again, it won't do a whole lot for Hartley in terms of the grand scheme of things. He's really just got to outperform him at Road Atlanta. Chris Henn really had to sit and watch it. He was just a passenger for most of this.
Yeah, his best chance was on the back straightaway heading to the bus stop. Really couldn't get the move done there. Yeah, he missed the corner, then he was trying to defend from Saxon behind him.
Yeah, he made a big mistake entering 11, drove in too hard. And up front, you saw just too little too late for Robert Hartley. But what another spectacular race in the SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. Here's a look at your race results. And we're not going to keep you waiting. We're going to talk to your winner in just a moment. But again, not a great race for Sanchez, Bresci, Peak, Ost, and Ficacci. All crashed. Most of them crashed from that lap 1 or 2 incident there with Mitchell Peak on the outside of turn 1.
Yeah, but really a fantastic race between these guys. A lot of patience shown, a lot of good racing. Didn't see a mistake out of any of these guys up in the front.
Flawless racing, very respectful racing at the front of the field. In any other series, you might expect a bump and run or a crash and dump, but Hartley did neither. He sat in 2nd. And that's going to be a 1/10 of a second, even a closer margin of victory, or about an equal margin of victory as race number 1. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. It'll just be a moment. Welcome back live to SimTV and Winding Road Magazine. We're here now with fifth place finisher Michael Borden driving the number 42. Michael, a strong pair of runs for you tonight, both top fives in that number 42. So close yet so far, a lot of action right in front of you. What'd you need to get by those front four?
Yeah, it was two great races. I was up in second place for a while there, and I can't remember who. Somebody made a move through the inner loop there, and I just messed up the exit completely and lost another position or two and just could never get back up there close enough to fight again.
Watkins Glen is a pretty challenging racetrack when it comes to defending position. So how much are you mirror driving to keep people behind you, and how much you're looking out the windshield to get the guys in front of you?
Coming up out of those S's into the inner loop there, you're pretty much, or at least I am, just looking at nothing but mirrors for the most part, just trying to figure out where everybody's going. The spotter's helpful in iRacing, but you can't really rely on it, so you still got to really be paying attention to those mirrors to see where everybody's at.
We have one final round left in about 5 weeks at Road Atlanta. That's where we're going to crown our champion. As an experience as a whole this season, how much fun has this series been, kind of racing with some of the best in the sim at some of the world's greatest racetracks?
Oh, it's been absolutely amazing. I definitely had some decent pace at the beginning of this season, but I've learned a lot racing against these fast guys, and they've pushed me to get faster and faster. And I think I've definitely learned a lot and have been a lot more competitive here at the end than I was at the beginning, for sure.
So heading into Road Atlanta, what's your plan for that race? And in terms of your strategy, are you going to approach that race any differently than you would some of the races so far this season?
Not really. I'll probably maybe put in a little extra practice just to see if I can, maybe pull a podium or two out of it. But being ninth coming in points coming into this race, it's going to be it's going to take a lot of luck to come out ahead in the points after that round. But I'm going to do everything I can to get as many points as I can.
All right, Mike. Well, congratulations on a pair of incredible finishes tonight. Thanks for talking to us, and good luck in Road Atlanta.
Thank you very much.
So I guess we'll talk to Robert Hartley next, who finished second in race number 2 tonight. Robert, pretty wild race up at the front those last couple laps, but just short of DJ. A couple opportunities. It looked like you might have been able to have a run at him, but what kept you from getting by that 91?
The last lap, I slid the front tires coming into the toe, which made Chris give me a little tag from the back, and I just couldn't get the run coming to the next right-hander. But congrats to DJ. Well deserved. Good run.
You guys have been neck and neck in pretty much every round this season. We have one final round where we're going to kickstart someone's real-world racing career. How are you going to approach this race? Is it any different than the races so far this season? And who do you think is your primary competition, besides DJ, of course?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to get a lot more practice for this one coming up. But, yeah, of course, DJ and, Chris Henn, he's always going to be in the mix. Michael Borden's coming on strong. Nathan Saxon, Paul Darling, any of them can get there. So it's going to be fun to watch.
And I want to talk a little bit about Watkins Glen as a race course. It's our home track here. And I was asking Michael Borden about the mirror driving. How much are you looking out the mirror, especially in those last couple laps, to try to keep people behind you as well as attack the drivers in front?
Just as much as you're looking out the front. You got to watch that guy behind you for sure.
All right, well, Robert Hartley, hey, congratulations. Another couple great finishes tonight, setting yourself up for a championship run next round at Road Atlanta. Thanks so much for talking. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too.
And we got Chris Henn with us now in the booth. And Chris, it wasn't a victory in race 2. Of course, race 1 you had a victory, so it was a first and a third for you tonight. Still 2 very, very solid finishes. Thoughts after Watkins Glen? No, Chris Henn. All right, let's move on to DJ Alessandrini and see what he's got to talk about. Hey, DJ, welcome back.
Hey. That race went better.
Yeah, I feel like we'd probably see you here eventually, and that went a little bit better. Robert Hartley had a couple runs at you, but you held him off, and it seemed like you wanted to hold the lead the whole time. Usually you want to be second on the second to last lap, or even the last lap. So why be out front, and why go on the defensive position? Was that a strategy you thought coming in, or were you just playing everything by ear?
I like being in front because when I'm in front, I only have to deal with one guy, and that's the guy directly behind me. So When you're in second, it's like I said when I was in the booth earlier. When you're in second, you want to work with that guy in front of you, but if you're getting attacked, then you have to attack, and then things turn into a scramble, and it's just a lot less risky to just run in front.
So I would say that Watkins Glen and Road Atlanta share some characteristics. Of course, we head there for our final round here in just about 5 weeks. Did you learn anything in the sim, in the last round we ran at Road Atlanta, or even at the Grid Life Touring Cup event a couple weeks ago that you can apply to that race and potentially kickstart your racing career?
So I did, and it had to do with 10A, 10B. I'm not going to share it. But basically, Eric Coutil, the guy that basically is the front runner in the Grid Life Touring Cup, he went over some video with me and data, and just basically told me I was doing that wrong. And I started doing it the way he told me to do it, and it drastically improved my drive out of 10B. And right when I got home from that weekend, there was a hour-long Le Mans iRacing official series, and I jumped in with no practice and had my best race ever at Road Atlanta. So there's something about driving the track in real life, then you come to the sim and you're even better at it.
So DJ, it's been a long season. If you walked out of Road Atlanta next week without the championship prize, will that be a disappointment for you, or are you just happy to be along for the ride? Explain your feelings, your projected feelings if you win or if you lose in 5 weeks.
So going into it, I'm just trying to go in with the attitude of I'll do my best and we'll see what the result is. Having said that, that's a difficult thing to mentality to go in with, because I want this so bad. That other people will say they want it bad. I want it way more. So it will be hard to keep the results out of my head while the race is going on. But I've had a lot of practice competing. As you know, I used to play Halo competitively. I compete in autocross, now with the Grid Life Touring Cup. I find that when you just completely focus on the task at hand, generally the results stay out of your head. So I'm going into that completely focused on the task, which is driving the car to the best of my ability and not really entirely worrying about anybody else. Just do my own best race. Don't worry about where Robert or Chris is finishing. Just do my best. Having said that, I feel like the whole season I've been pretty dominant. So I'm obviously the front runner going in. It doesn't feel like I am. I know that sounds weird, but it doesn't feel like I should be the guy that wins it. But based on how much I want it, I would be extremely disappointed if it doesn't go my way.
All right, DJ. Hey, we're going to wish you luck in 5 weeks at Road Atlanta. Thanks so much for your time, and thanks for jumping in race 1 after that collision. I know that didn't go the way you wanted, but it ended the way you wanted in victory lane again this season. Congratulations, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right, thanks, Kyle.
Thanks a lot, DJ. Vinny, and final thoughts after a spectacular round at Watkins Glen, our home track. I love this place. I would run every single race here if I could. Again, proved to be very exciting those last couple laps.
Yeah, definitely so. A lot of those guys playing patient in both races in the middle part of that, just kind of riding in behind. A few passes here and there, moving guys up and down the order, but at the end there saw the floodgates open and guys were going after those final few spots there. Weren't able to get it on the final lap as Hen tried to make a pass on Hartley, but it was really close overall. Nice to see, guys close and up and running together, and also the respect too. These guys gave a lot of respect to each other on the track. They easily could have blocked and could have seen a lot more instances and wrecks involved, but these guys kept it fairly clean throughout.
So we're done for the night, but we're not done for the season. There is one round left. That's October 23rd. It will take place at Road Atlanta, and it is our final round of the season where we will crown a champion. And that champion looks like it may be DJ Alessandrini with how he's walking in there with such a big points lead, but it's anybody's race to have there in 5 weeks. So if you want to find out more about us, you can find us on youtube.com/SimTV Broadcasting. Thanks so much again to Winding Road Magazine, Winding Road Racing, Paradigm Shift, RacewayTech, and LevelUp Racing School for coming on board, sponsoring the series, helping us be here and bring this content to you. We'll see you next round on October 23rd. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good night.